There's no time.
The time is
13
o'clock.
Hey y'all, it's episode 166.
Yeah, what's this? This is about vampire killers.
Vampire killers, vampire assaulters,
Yeah.
We got like a whole bunch of different cases on this one.
And as you can see, I'm in a new fucking chair. This is a fucking throne. People were fucking with me about sitting in that ratty ass chair, and when that alcohol had a good grip on me, when the spirit of Kukulkan overtook me,
Like it does.
with when I'm drinking tequila, I'll start shifting around in that chair too much because it's not all that comfortable. So I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go straight up Merv Griffin show and bring out this fucking throne. I'm gonna sit up in this motherfucker like the most interesting man in the world."
Like I said, you need a cigar.
Yeah, and a damn suit jacket, sport coat.
Yeah. Do you have one? You have one, don't you?
Yeah, I got a
Sam?
bunch of them.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them.
You should put that on.
No, I ain't putting that on.
You need like a really loud checkered one like Merv Griffin so you can like pretend it's the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Have like a little snifter of brandy
True.
and big old fucking cigar like this big
Yeah.
around.
We got we got Dennis with us. Dennis is in position.
He is, yeah. Look at him there.
Dennis is in position.
Staring
Yeah.
into your souls. That's
Yeah.
what he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this show, like I said, since it's October, we're doing kind of variety show, several cases on one episode. And since it's almost Halloween, next week is going to be our Halloween episode.
Yeah.
I decided to do vampire killers, especially because we had been talking about doing Rod Ferrell for a while.
Yeah.
And we've also had Richard Trenton Chase has been requested a bunch of times.
Read a whole book on Chase a long time ago.
Yeah, so we'll
When
probably...
I was in Egypt on the MFO mission, I read a book about Chase.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll probably save him till last, though.
Yeah.
Because he's the most
And
fucked up one.
I worked for one of Ferrell's lawyers, his first lawyer,
Yeah, I remember that.
Candace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw his case files. But she didn't handle his trial, just his original arrest when he got extradited back here to Florida.
Yeah,
She handled him for a little while and then passed him on to another lawyer later on.
Yeah.
That's how
I
it
was
works.
watching a documentary with him about him today, and it's like, I forgot what a douche that guy was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clearly, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, when they interview him, it's just like,
He's troubled.
that's a very diplomatic way
I
of
think
putting
he
it,
had
sure.
some. We'll talk about him when we get to it. There was more to him than meets the eye in terms of just. I kind of know where he's coming from. We know the time, the 90s.
Yeah.
And we know the scene that he was coming out of, with the goth scene.
Well, I was going to talk about
And,
that a
like,
little
magic.
bit, too. It's like, it's not so much
LARPing
him but, the other people, like his friends that knew him at the time, like before he killed people, I can understand where they were coming from, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, growing up in some horrible town in Kentucky, where it's like, so, I feel that.
He just went too far.
Yeah,
He lost
obviously.
Lost his mind and went too far. But we're going too far ahead.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet.
But yeah, so what I did, like I said, those will be the two kind of main attractions, sort of vampire killers. And then I also found like a handful of other kind of not as involved cases about either killers or people who committed crimes that were vampire related. Not going to do the Atlas vampire because we already put her on we already put that person on our Sweden show. Yeah, I did like a murder in Sweden show that had that on it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So we're going to leave that one off. But these ones are all pretty fun. So, all right. What did I say? Episode 166. What are our shout outs on this one?
Oh, I don't remember. I know somebody thinks that they have a computer for us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
Very excited. Also, we got a PayPal donation from Sandra or Sandra. I'm not sure which way you pronounce it. Mm-hmm. She comments on our YouTube videos all the time. Also, probably if you want to send in a scary story for Halloween, you should probably do it like in the next day or two because I'm going to be putting together. Yeah, we're running out of time, and it's like I'm going to start putting together all the stories and whatnot. So if you want one, you want one in there, then send it to me at gravecake@gmail.com. I'll also put that down in the description. Also, the audiobook for the Associated Villainies My Fiction compilation, the first edition of which came out in 2011. I did a second edition, and the audiobook is finally up. It took them like a month.
Yeah.
It's never taken them that long before.
Yeah.
But like I said, I guess they just got backed up or whatever on Audible. But it is available now. So go and check it out if you're, because I think this is the first fiction book that I have done an audiobook. Yeah. I'm going to get around to doing all of them eventually, but they take a long time to do. But this one is actually up, and my other short story thing, Hopeful Monsters, that'll be the next one to do, because I redid the print and the ebook. I'm just still working on the audio.
Should sell some, I think.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because, in case people are curious about my horror fiction and not just my true crime stuff. I think that's probably it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I thought probably what we're going to do, because I have like 6 different cases, and like I said, Rod Ferrell and Richard Trenton Chase are the big ones. The other ones are kind of shorter, so I'll probably just do like the 3 or 4 short ones first, and then we'll take a break and then talk about the other 2 cases.
Yeah, because I'll be done with this drink about halfway through it. I'm
Well,
on this new
you
one.
usually are.
I'm on this.
Yeah,
new
this
one.
is a new drink.
This is my
New
new
chair,
one.
new drink, new
Yeah,
all
new
kind
chair,
of shit
new drink,
going on.
everything. I learned this drink in Tampa.
That's right. When we were at the Absolution
And we went
Festival.
to the big city.
The big city.
Yeah.
when our little rube asses
When we went
over
to the
there.
big city. Yeah. That's that tropical Red Bull with
in the yellow can.
Hornitos Reposado tequila, and you can also use Salsa Reposado. That's what they were using
at the bar.
And a shot of lime juice. That shit is good. We went to the grocery store to go look for that tropical Red Bull. We were pissed because it looked like they didn't have it, but then there it was right there. It's just the yellow one.
Yeah.
You have to look. It's in the fine print. It says it's the tropical one.
I didn't realize they had so many different flavors.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't realize that because I can't stand Red Bull.
Yeah, well, you're not hip to Red Bull's game. I like energy drinks.
No, man, it tastes like fucking sweet tarts mixed with Satan's taint.
No, it isn't. It's good.
It's so gross. And it's like, and he's so funny because he's like, he mixes this drink. He knows that I like neither tequila nor Red Bull.
I give it to him.
And yet he still makes me drink it.
Drink.
And I'm just like, oh, it's gross. What a surprise.
It's an acquired taste.
A lot of things are. I just
it's a
never
manly
acquired.
taste. It's a manly taste.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, fucking right it is.
Okay.
It's a testosterone thing.
I think it's just a bad.
I noticed that when I'm fucking lifting and my T count gets higher, all of a sudden the tequila tastes better. So does the Red Bull. So do fucking sweet tarts. It all starts tasting better. So there's that testosterone link.
Yeah, but maybe everything tastes better.
I don't know.
So it's just kind of like, a rising tide lifts all boats kind of situation.
I don't know. You're reading too much into it. I just made my statement.
That's what I do, man.
The tequila tasted better.
Okay.
The sweet tarts tasted better.
I don't like any kind of I don't really like energy drinks. I don't mind the caffeine ones, because don't they do
I like them all. I like that Monster low carb.
Mocha Loca or whatever it is.
I like that Monster low carb. The black one with the light blue M.
Yeah.
The can is huge. Yeah. I like that one.
You can't drink too many of those a day though. Your heart will explode.
I think it's just a soft drink. I'm not buying into the hype.
There's a lot of caffeine in them.
Yeah, but there's a caffeine in a lot of soft drinks.
Well, yeah, but I mean, some people drink like a shit ton of them.
I think it's the same shit. Back when I was a kid, hanging out at 7-Eleven in the 80s, they came up with this shit called Jolt Cola. Remember that?
I remember Jolt Cola.
It said twice the sugar and twice the caffeine.
Yeah, because they were like, fuck it.
Yeah, like, fuck you. You know what I mean? They're definitely marketing it to teenage kids, teenage guys. We go, oh, yeah, that shit's good. I think that's all it is. Something like Jolt.
And it didn't even taste that different.
No, it tasted exactly the same.
I thought it tasted the same.
Tasted exactly the same.
Of course, I'm not a big soda
Tasted
fan.
like RC.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it tasted like.
Yeah.
I can't even, honestly, if you gave me like a blind taste test between Coke, Pepsi, ours, I probably couldn't tell the difference.
I can tell RC. RC is sweet. And
Pepsi is sweet too. It's supposed to be. But like
RC
I said.
was sweeter and it didn't seem to have as much carbonation. It wasn't quite as carbonated. Not flat, but it just had a different level of it,
Yeah.
That's how I remember it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
But they still make it, I think.
I think that went out with trailer parks.
Yeah.
As trailer parks started to go away, so did RC Cola.
Because that was their prime market.
Yeah.
I guess it was. Well, you know, they still make moon pies and shit, and that's pretty trailer parky.
The banana moon pies, nanner moon pies.
Banana moon pies.
Yeah.
Bah.
Yeah,
I don't like banana anything.
Artificial yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, real bananas are tolerable, but anything with that artificial banana flavor just makes me want to throw up. So bad.
Nana moon pie.
Nana moon pie.
Yeah. 5 seconds in the damn microwave.
Yeah.
Wrapped. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I guess because you were saying like about artificial colors and flavors and stuff. Mm-hmm. But we went to the movies to see Zombieland Double Tap, and I got the icy, and it's like an Addams Family one, and it's black cherry, and it was like black.
Yeah. Which
I thought was very neat. It actually tasted pretty good too.
Yeah.
Although you complained about it because you said, well, it doesn't like stop you from being thirsty.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's like it's like an eighth a cup of fluid just frozen and whipped. It's like eating snow. You can never satisfy your thirst, you know, by eating snow. It's like that.
But it was black and it had cherry flavor in it.
Okay.
It was good.
All right.
All right. So let's start talking about some people that think they're vampires. And the shit that they get up to.
Yeah.
We know a couple people that think they're vampires. Well,
yeah.
One in particular that I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about him.
I'm not saying it was. We haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he's gone.
But, he thought he was a vampire. So, this little case here, I just found this while I was looking, you know, because I Google searched vampire killers to see what would come up after the Roman Polanski Fearless Vampire Killers movie. Now, this is a Florida man story, except it's Florida woman. This happened in 2011. This is a very Florida story, you guys. So there's this woman named Josephine Smith. At the time, she was 22 years old. Now, this happened in St. Petersburg, which is a little south of Tampa, couple of hours from here.
A little south of the big city.
Yeah. Well, it's also a big city, but, you know, it's little
just
south.
Just talking shit.
Yeah, you are.
Orlando's now a big city.
Yeah, it's really grown in the last 40 years or so. So this poor 69-year-old homeless man was sleeping outside of a Hooters restaurant, like you do, in St. Petersburg. And 22-year-old Josephine Smith comes it was about midnight, so I guess is Hooters open at midnight? I don't know. I don't know what day it was. And she jumped on top of this poor old homeless man.
I remember this. Yeah.
And says, "I'm a vampire. I'm going to eat you."
Yeah.
And then she bit him.
And wasn't she all dressed up in some sexy shit with them?
Oh, I don't know.
I think she was.
The St. Petersburg Times did not specify what she was wearing.
It's the same with the other fishnets and crap.
Probably.
I think it's the same one. We'll see.
Oh boy. Yeah. So she jumps on this guy. She bites him on the arm. Removes the top layer of skin. She also bit through his lips, and he had to get stitches for that. It's probably like the last thing you're feeling. Well, maybe it's not the last thing you're thinking of when you're homeless sleeping outside of Hooters, that some crazy girl is going to jump on you and say they're a vampire and then try to bite your lips off. Of course, it is Florida. Maybe. I hope he did.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
He's probably like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. Ouch, stop it, ow.
What are you doing, you crazy bitch? Yeah. Oh, man. Is that a fucking Hooters?
Chill out.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Oh, no.
And see, he's that bum that's constantly in those John Carpenter movies. He's that guy.
Oh, yeah.
What's that guy's name?
Oh, shit.
That's who I'm picturing.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or the guy.
I was the president.
Either that or the guy that. Remember the guy that played the bum in Dagon? Like the guy that was drunk all the time?
Guy, right,
or that guy. That guy. But he's passed away now. But that he would be good too. So he needed. This poor guy manages to get away from this crazy woman. He calls the police. He had to go to the hospital and get his lips stitched up and stuff like that. So she gets arrested, charged with aggravated battery. Now, when I was researching what had happened to her since then, it turns out that she got arrested again in May of 2015 for stabbing her boyfriend with a pair of scissors.
Okay, this isn't the same one I was thinking of.
So, this happened more than once?
Yeah, there's another one.
They jumped on an old guy outside of Hooters and said they were a vampire?
Jumped on this dude and started attacking him. I think she cut his dick off.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay, no, this is not what happened.
I think we did a show about her. She killed one guy, remember?
I don't remember.
And she was kind of
We've done so many horrible things on this show.
kind of what they call a big bad woman, dressed, the BBW. That's what they call a big bad woman. Dressed as a vampire, gothic vampire. And I think she killed one guy. She had a whole coven of them, female vampires. She was probably about 30. The rest of them were all in their 20s. I think it was 90s, though.
Oh, okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
No,
She kind of was like Tara.
Oh.
She was kind of like, that's somebody you actually know. She's kind of, when you look at her, she was kind of like Tara.
And she's going around jumping on dudes.
Yeah, she killed a dude, yeah.
Huh. Well, this girl didn't kill the guy. No, she didn't. Now, she stabbed her boyfriend with scissors, but he didn't die.
Yeah.
Apparently, they started having an argument about something or other, and she just decided she wasn't having any more of his shit, and she was working on she was sewing some clothes or something. Had some scissors close to hand, and so they have these like, the mug shots of her. She looks kind of mean in the first one where she jumped on the homeless guy, but then 4 years later, she was like all crying and stuff.
Yeah.
She didn't look all that
different. I can't
different.
believe I did it again.
Well, at least she didn't try to eat him, that I know of. But so that's that girl. Now, here's another guy that, this is a lot less funny. This actually happened in Scotland in 2002. Now, this guy's name is Alan Menzies, and I love the way this fucking, I don't love it, but you know what I mean. I love the way this fucking article starts. And it just comes as, it just comes right in the middle, and he says, a man has admitted killing his friend, drinking his victim's blood, and eating part of his head. Which part? I don't know. Yeah.
Damn.
So Alan Menzies, 22 years old, murdered his 21-year-old friend, Thomas McKendrick, in Scotland in December of 2002. Now, apparently, it was at the friend's house, and I don't know if they got in an argument or what the fuck happened, but apparently Menzies started hitting his friend on the head with what they believe was a baseball bat or some other, like, blunt object similar to that. And then and then got a knife and just started, like, stabbing him, like, in the face and everything like that. Now, apparently he dumps the body into a drainage ditch, where it was found by a passing police officer, like, about a month later. I don't know if they were, like, searching the area for the guy or something like that because he was missing, but they see a forearm and a hand sticking out of this drainage ditch, and they're like, oh, that looks a little suspicious. I'm gonna go check that out. Now, they go to Alan Menzies' house, and it turns out that he is, like, a really big, like, Anne Rice fanboy. Like, he's got Queen of the Damned, he's got Blood and Gold. He says, he's read, like, Queen of the Damned, like, 100 times. And he's, like, super, super into it. And, like, they go through the books, and just like in some, like, shitty-ass horror movie, like, he's written, like, all these notes, like, in the margins and stuff. I guess when he found, like, a particularly... good passage that was like, oh yeah, that's totally what I'm feeling right now. You know what I mean? It was like, he probably did that. And it's like, yeah, and it's like they said it was really badly spelled. But he had written like stuff like, the blood is the life, I've drunk the blood, and it shall be mine, for I have seen horror, like all this other kind of crap.
Oh, the 90s.
Right. Well, no, this was 2002. Well,
that's
when
that was written. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I remember... Okay, the 90s, I have to say, are probably my least favorite decade that I've lived through.
I don't know. I was having fun, especially towards the end.
I did not like the 90s. I was
having fun, yeah.
The beginning was okay, but I didn't like, I just didn't like I didn't like the way the music was going. I didn't like the way the fashion was going. I don't know. There was just something about it I didn't like.
I liked it, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it started to get better toward the end. It's like, and I think I mentioned it before on like some of our like retrospective reviews. It's like, I can count on probably one or two hands like the good horror movies that came out the whole entire decade.
Strawberry Switchblade came out.
Not Strawberry Switchblade. Switchblade Symphony.
Switchblade
right?
Symphony. That's right. Yeah, Strawberry Switchblade was the 80s.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Switchblade Symphony came out. Just garbage. They're just.
Yeah, there was good stuff. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that after the 80s, it seemed like kind of a letdown, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Dead Can Dance?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not saying there wasn't good shit. There was. But I do feel like The one thing that I didn't like, I mean, I feel like I liked in the 80s how, yeah, like if you were goth or punk or whatever, and you kind of got shit on and picked on because nobody knew what the fuck that was or anything. But in a way, I kind of liked that better, that nobody knew what it was. After the 90s, and particularly I blame Nirvana, but especially after like grunge got really popular and like alternative music got really popular. And then, you know, all the kid, like 13-year-olds were shopping at Hot Topic, and it's like suddenly everybody was, and it's just like, I don't know. It just pissed me off a lot.
Me and my friends back then, we just laughed. They would say alternative music. Like, alternative to what?
Yeah.
That was mainstream music.
It was. And it was like...
There was no alternative. It was just
really,
that.
It's really weird to explain to, like, somebody that wasn't alive during that time. It's like prior to, really, 1991, 1992, I mean, there was a pretty strident, like, difference between, like, people that were into shit we were into and people that were just into, like, regular shit. Yeah. I mean, they didn't know what our music, they didn't know, like, all these kind of, like, weird cult movies, and it's not like now where, like, everybody knows everything about everything.
No, you had to find it back then.
Yeah, because, but I mean, the internet wasn't really a thing. I mean, we didn't even have the internet until 94, 95, something like that.
Yeah, well, as the internet started to come in the 90s, you know, I was doing some of the very first online shopping. I had damn web TV.
Yeah.
The idea of having a fucking ATM card and you could buy something, that was blowing my mind. That was like something that you'd see out of the movies. That was like out of an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Yeah. You know when Arnold buys a damn in what was that? Running Man? And, he buys a plane ticket over web TV on that woman's I was like, man, I have that now.
Whoa, it's like the fucking Jetsons or some shit.
Yeah, it's like the Jetsons, And then you couldn't really stream over the internet, but the internet was starting to become something useful. Yeah. And you had it. If you didn't have a computer, like I had both for a while. Well, I lost. It went back and forth. There were times where I didn't have a PC and I just used web TV, and then later on I got a PC again. You know, but it was just a weird time. You couldn't stream online. You could only like surf, do some research, buy stuff, and forums. There was
like message boards.
Forums.
And stuff.
There was like. And I got caught up in the flame wars of 1998, where every time you went to a discussion group, you were flaming the fuck out of it. This was like, now, you know, they've been kind of these online wars, you know, recently. There was nothing like the flame wars of the late 90s. Well, shit,
there was even like one...
just flaming the fuck
There
out
was
of
even one of the earliest, like, Usenet, I think it was one of the earliest Usenet groups, was MST3K fans.
Yeah.
And holy crap, when the whole Joel Mike thing happened.
Yeah, it was a flame war.
Holy shit, that was like a big fucking deal. People still talk about that shit.
Yeah, you could fight with people over the internet. It was fucking...
And people were like,
yeah, it was awesome. You know, they couldn't punch you in the face.
Before, I just had to fight with people like next door. I was afraid they would hit me.
And then, you know, you could order stuff from Black Rose or Hot Topic, and it would show up, and that would blow your fucking mind. And that was like the heyday of Howard Stern. I loved Howard Stern's radio show. Yeah. It was cutting edge in the day. But man, it just that can't survive against what you have on the internet now. Just connectivity. It's just it's a whole new ball game.
It's really totally different.
But there was something about that being new, that the internet was a new thing, and you're just starting to get, and you could just start seeing things change because of the effects of it. And then I saw a dude have a laptop and get an internet connection through a laptop, through wireless. So that blew my fucking mind. I was like, man, that's some shit out of Star Trek. that must have been about 97.
Little did you know that everyone's going to have like fucking cell phones.
Cell phones, I couldn't even imagine that. That must have been around maybe like 96 or 97. A food vendor walked into a McDonald's or a restaurant. That's what it was. It wasn't a McDonald's. Opened it up and took his order. It was a Cisco. Guy worked for Cisco. Yeah. And took the order to that laptop. And I was like, wait a minute, what? He goes, yeah, I have a connection. I was like, what?
How does that work?
It took me, I couldn't process it. I couldn't fucking process it. I was like, what? He's looking at me, he's rolling his eyes at me.
He's like, are you 100 years old?
I'm like, that's on the internet? And he's like, yeah.
But yeah, I think, honestly, like I said, there was a lot of cool, like, I graduated from high school in 1990, so, like, you know, the 90s were kind of like my, you know, college years and shit like that, but it's like, that there was some good shit about it, but it's like I said, I really didn't like just the way the subcultures went, particularly because that's kind of what I was really into, and that was like a big part of my life and stuff. So I didn't like the way, like I said, everybody suddenly knew about it and everyone was being like posers about it. And it like really got on my nerves.
Yeah, well, they were the big influx of new people started showing up.
Yeah, and a
We
lot
used to
of
call
them,
them Mansonites.
yeah, and
Charles
spooky
Manson.
kids.
Yeah, spooky because not Charles Manson. What's his name?
Marilyn
Manson got him in there.
That's what I mean. It's like they had this big
Mansonites.
stupid trip pants and it's like
Yeah.
fucking had makeup like the Crow, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, just knock it off.
Yeah, how many crows are in this club?
Knock it off.
Fucking-
Yeah, that used to be like a joke back then.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, there's another one.
If you fucking showed up as a crow, you need to be fucking slapped.
Yeah. Right? It's like, that was definitely a thing. It was, I don't know. There was just a lot of shit I don't
What's
like
his name?
about it.
Draven.
Yeah, Eric Draven.
Eric Draven. Yeah.
I mean, and I like that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
I'm just saying,
That shit was just played out by the
holy
time the 90s.
shit, man.
Late 90s it rolled
It's
around.
like
You wanna
every
shove-
13-year-old edgelord was like out there with that fucking makeup on and
Yeah.
those big fucking gigantic pants. It was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous time.
It was a ridiculous time.
And I mean, and I was hanging out in a lot of goth clubs back then too. And it's like you'd see them come in, and it's like me and like all the other old people. We weren't
Yeah.
even that old back then. We were just in our early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
And we were just like looking at them, just going, "Fuck me!
Yeah.
Look at this shit here."
Yeah.
It was terrible, and it just seemed like a lot of the music was going in a more like techno-y type of direction.
Yeah, it was.
And
Yeah.
and I just wasn't.
Gravers.
And I wasn't there for that. I wasn't there for that
I must say
Graver
something,
shit, the
though,
cyber shit. I don't like that.
I must hand it to our generation though, coming up during that time, is that people had better social skills than the kids do today.
I
Show up to
didn't.
the club. We had them. People were throwing down, man.
I've always been a weirdo.
It was a sexually charged environment. Well, I was in the good clubs though. I was at Man Ray in Boston, and I was hanging out at like the Crystal down in the French Quarter and stuff later on, and also Hellfire Club, you know. So yeah, it was a sexually charged scene back in those days.
Well, yeah, I remember that. I'm just
More
saying.
so than it is today, I think. I think it is.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it was.
I don't know.
And it wasn't just because I was younger. It was just people were up to, you know the deal. People were throwing down back then. It was, nowadays they're just, it's online. It's online relationships.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Not back then.
But how do we get off on this? Oh,
I don't
'cause
fucking
we were
know.
talking about Anne Rice.
Talking about Anne Rice.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So
This
this guy who
dude, they love it when we go off track anyway.
I know. Well, that's all right.
That's how we get all our fans.
Well,
going
and
on
like
this-
I said, we'll probably end up going back down that tangent when we talk about Rod Ferrell because
Yeah, I
that
gotta
was
talk about Rod.
because that was like a lot of the shit that I was just
Yeah,
talking about was
right.
kind of relevant to that. But yeah, so this guy who's a huge Anne Rice fan, who obviously related to a lot of the characters in there, decides to kill his friend, beat him to death with a fucking bat or whatever. Then he drinks his blood and eats part of his head, and then dumps him in a drainage ditch. And then they arrested him like a month later after they found the body. They put him in prison. He got 18 years to life. And he apparently committed suicide in 2004. It was really weird because I looked it up and they're like, yeah, he died in custody in 2004. In our understanding, it was a suicide.
Right.
I'm like,
Well, maybe he was murdered in prison. And
That's
it
what
made
I
it look
was
like a
thinking.
suicide.
Maybe he got murdered or maybe one of the...
Wonder what part of his head he ate.
I don't know. The article didn't really say. And I'm like, you can't just leave me hanging like that. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that... I don't need to know like the gross ass details, but
Yeah.
come on. You can't just say ate part of his head. I'm like, which part? Everybody's
Yeah.
asking that. Everybody. All right. So this next case I want to talk about. This happened in 2011 in Massachusetts. This guy right here, he went the whole 9 yards, man. He took on a Latin name from Twilight, so
All right.
partially. Caius Domitius Veiovis.
Oh shit.
See, that's what I said too. It's like immediately before I even finished reading that, my eyeballs just went
Yeah.
rolling back up into my head.
Going way over the top.
Way over the top. Whoa,
He
yeah.
should have just, if he wanted a Latin name, he should have just called himself Sancho. Doesn't that make a lot more sense?
Well, you
I
know.
could get laid with a name like Sancho. What's your name? My name is Sancho. fucking right, man. I'd rock that. I'd be rocking Sancho.
Okay.
Sancho, yes. Sancho Vasquez.
Sancho Vasquez.
Yeah. Fucking right.
Yeah, you look like you look like a Sancho Vasquez. I have to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy, not only did he have this ridiculous over-the-top Latin name, he also got those subdermals like under his forehead, like to look like horns.
The horns.
But they didn't really look like horns.
It's like bumps.
Yeah, it just looks like bumps, so it's not quite as cool.
No.
I'm like, if you're gonna do horns, like go whole
They're
hog
not
and
cool.
get horns.
They're not cool.
They're not. It doesn't.
Cool.
Well, it doesn't look good like that.
No.
You just look like you have a big giant zit. Is what it looks like. Yeah. So he had that. He had which I thought was kind of cool, but he had like these bones like tattooed on his fingers that are green and stuff. But he also has like a bunch of facial tattoos. Mm-hmm. And it looked like, from the picture, it looked like a lot of them were like kind of runes, like across his face. Like, not in a cool way, but it's just kind of like in a douchey.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just super douchey. And also, he had 666 tattooed on his head. I'm like,
okay.
God, are you 10? What the fuck? Just stop it. It's like no one is shocked by that anymore.
Yeah.
So, like I said, and this is 2011. This wasn't even back in the 80s when like people were like getting their panties in a bunch about that shit.
That one that would have only made an impact really in the 70s.
Yeah, and even then, it's like, you know what, like...
During the Anton LaVey era.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I saw that, like, when I was walking along the trail this morning, behind our house, and we live in, like, a nice neighborhood and everything, but apparently some kid around here, like, decided they were going to spray paint a bunch of shit. And, of course, so they spray paint on the ground a little bit, and then they spray paint on, like, one of the stop signs or some shit. And what do they spray paint? 666. Mm-hmm. I was like...
Yeah. Those same tired old memes.
So edgy. It's like, it's like,
tropes.
Right? It's like kids have been doing that since the fucking...
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, knock it off.
Put a pentagram on it.
Yeah.
And then draw it the wrong direction.
And then they draw it the wrong direction. Or they put like a swastika
and then they put a swastika and they got that fucked
backwards.
up.
Yeah. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And it's like, no one is shocked. Everyone's just like, that's probably some fucking kid.
Yeah.
So he's got that on his face. He's 34 years old, or at least he was in 2011. Now, he also says that he's a vampire. Now, this guy, as douchey as that shit is, he did actually kidnap, kill, and dismember 3 men in Massachusetts. So, apparently, in 2001, they had found the dismembered bodies of a guy named David Glasser, who was 44, a guy named Edward Frampton, who was 58, and a guy named Robert Chadwell, who was 47. And they found them buried inside, outside of the town of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. They had all gone missing, I think on the same day, or like right around the same time. They found their bodies about 10 days after they went missing. Now, apparently, this Caius Veiovis person...
Sancho.
Sancho. Let's just call him that.
Yeah.
That's a cool name. We have to give him a dorky name.
Okay, all right.
What's a dorky Latin name?
Paco.
Not Latin like Latin America.
Okay.
Latin as in like Roman Latin.
I don't fucking know. Wait.
But yeah, so he apparently had 2 henchmen who had normal names, Adam Lee Hall and David Chalui, something like that. And these dudes were also like old enough to know better. One was 37 and one was 47. And apparently they kidnapped these 3 guys who were like older dudes. I don't know what the fuck that was going on there. So they kidnapped them and shot them and then cut them up and like buried them outside of town.
Sure, this wasn't drug related.
It might have been one of the guys, David Glasser, was supposed to testify against Adam Lee Hall, who was one of the accomplices. Yeah. And he was apparently in the Hells Angels. Yeah. So there might have been some shit going on there, drug related, or some kind of beef he had with the motorcycle gang or whatever. But that said, Sancho. Yeah. He said that he didn't do it or anything like that, but he did actually say that he was a vampire. Okay. And like I said, he gave himself that name and everything. But he says that he didn't have anything to do with these murders, even though they found like all kind of fucking evidence, and even though the other 2 guys said he was totally involved in it. But is it, you know what I mean? It's like he was okay. So he's originally from Maine, they said. Now he changed his name in 2008. His real name is Roy Gutfinski Jr., which I don't blame him. I would change that if that was my name too.
I like Roy.
Well, yeah.
I just was
Roy.
Finsky. I mean, you could roll with that, but you could always just call yourself Guff.
I kind of like
Roy
that.
Guff, see, or Guffy.
Finsky.
Yeah.
We're thinking of like
Just
nicknames for these horrible ass
Yeah, who
names.
cares about these dudes' names?
But yeah, so he changed his name. Now they're speculating because Caius was the name, and I haven't read them, but apparently, according to the article, Caius is a vampire from the Twilight novels. It's like, how fucking cool can a 34-year-old man with face tattoos and subdermal horn implants in his head, how cool can you be if you named yourself after a vampire from fucking Twilight?
He grew up with that shit, man.
Which is like a teen girl.
He's OG, man. He grew up with that shit.
Thing. I mean, you know.
He's sentimental. They got dudes that must be just, they got some dudes that have some sentimental qualities, He saw that program and it took him to a new place. It's where
After reading Twilight, it spoke to him.
He's very romantic,
I suppose.
Very romantic character.
Although, like I said, if you're gonna do that, it's like at least like be a little bit classier and pick something from Anne Rice. Like, why don't you call yourself like Armand or something?
Well, a lot of times, these guys don't have much creativity on their own. They don't want to veer too far away from something that they saw and liked. You know what I mean? They're gonna like stuff that they make. They can't really make anything.
Yeah.
So
I suppose.
He thinks he's in Twilight. Our vampire friend thinks he's in Twilight.
Yeah, that's really seems to be. It's like if you, it's like if you're gonna like choose to be a vampire and like go around telling people, at least pick cooler ones than fucking Twilight.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody knows that's lame.
See, Jenny and I knew this guy. He was okay. He was entertaining at first, but as he's kind of new to the scene, he started buying every bit of clothing that I had.
It was super creepy, you guys.
Yeah.
He was like Tom's mini-me.
Yeah, and then he started going out with fucking kind of the young girls too, and he already had a girlfriend who was like a live-in girlfriend.
Yeah.
Too, so it's just weird,
He was trying to be poly, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I think was trying to.
But what was kind of weird is that he was a school teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't know by looking at him. You'd think he was one of the students, though. He looked like he was about 15 years younger than he really was.
Yeah, because I was like surprised when I found out how old he was. Because he really didn't. Maybe he really is a vampire.
Yeah.
Because he did look like a fucking 18-year-old.
Then that bitch fell in love with me.
Yeah, it was like this is like a weird time in our lives, you guys.
It
was very weird.
Oh man, I couldn't get rid of that dude.
It's all coming back to him.
It's all coming back, man. I couldn't get rid of that dude.
Well, and plus the weird thing too is that he, like I said, he had like some weird kind of like fixation or like obsession with you.
Yeah.
He kind of wanted to be you.
Yeah. Tried to assume my identity.
But then like he was taking aspects of your personality that were not accurate. It was almost kind of like it was like his weird like warped perception of you.
Yeah.
And he was acting like that.
He took the things that impressed. He was impressed by certain aspects of me, but he didn't understand those aspects.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So he took them in directions that were not what they were.
Yeah. And and then he would get mad that like
I'd take a photo, he'd like the photo, and he'd try to take that exact same photo.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like single white female except with dudes.
Yeah.
Single white goth dudes.
Yeah. He was assuming I set that photo up.
Yeah.
That I was fucking with him. Or something, you know what I mean? That was challenging him.
Yeah, it got weird because I think that he started to like manufacture entire
thought process,
entire beefs and entire like arguments and stuff that we didn't even know was going on.
Yeah.
Like, just because, like, he read something.
Thought I was doing stuff to him. And
yeah,
stuff.
It's
like that I was fucking with him, but I wasn't fucking with him.
Yeah, like
I was ignoring him.
Like I said, it's like you would post something on Facebook, you would, like a picture or or something, and he would think that you were talking about him, even though we weren't.
It had nothing to do with him, yeah.
So, like, it was, like, really, really weird.
Yeah.
And then like, the next time he came out, he'd be, like, up in your face, like, what did you mean by that? And we're just like, what the fuck?
It's like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? We weren't even talking about you, or... I don't know. It was just very strange. I don't know what happened to him. He moved away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very, very weird. So apparently even before, like, before this Caius person, Sancho, started getting all his, like, fabulous vampire accoutrement, he apparently in 1999, him and his girlfriend, who was 17 years old at the time, they lured a 16-year-old girl to their motel room. They cut open her back with a razor blade and then drank the blood while they were like making out with one another. So the girl she got away, and then she had to go to the hospital, and because they had cut her back open and she needed like 30 stitches.
Damn.
So, yeah. Now he got arrested for that, like back in 1999. And at the time, he said, "Oh, I'm a vampire and a Satanist and stuff like you always say." Him and the girlfriend got convicted of elevated aggravated assault, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And in 2000, he got sentenced to 10 years, but then he got like all but 3, like he got 7 years suspended. Like so they let him back out. So
They didn't think he was a threat.
Yeah. So then after he got out on parole, in 2006, he was charged again with kidnapping and drug possession. Him and another guy were keeping 2 strippers in a hotel room and wouldn't let them leave. So then he had to go back to prison for violating his probation. And then after that, when he got back out again, then he goes and helps allegedly these other 2 guys murder and cut up 3 dudes. So
Keeping 2 strippers in a hotel room and not letting them leave. That sounds an awful lot like pimping.
Well, yeah, some of that might have been involved also.
That's what was going on there.
But it was, they charged him with kidnapping, although he didn't get charged with that, but he did get the drug possession charge. And then he got sent back to prison because he had violated his parole, because he's up to all kind of other kind of shit. All right, so that guy, as far as I know, he's still saying he's innocent, but he's still in prison. He's still trying to appeal.
You just having a wild time,
I guess.
Yeah.
All of these people. All right, so this next case I want to talk about before we go to break. This is the case of James Riva, the schizophrenic vampire, they call him. Now, this guy... okay, now this happened in 1980. Now, what he did was... he had mental problems, since he was young. But in the late 70s, early 80s, he started saying that he was a 700-year-old vampire and that he either needed to drink blood to live or that he thought his grandmother, who I believe that he lived with, he thought that she was a vampire and that she was sucking out his blood or his life essence or something like that while he was sleeping. So he was clearly had some mental issues. So in April of 1980... James Riva shoots his 75-pound grandmother, who was in a wheelchair, by the way. He shot her with a gun that had gold bullets in it.
How do you manage that?
I don't know. I don't know if they were just gold. I think he just painted them gold. Okay. I don't think they were really gold, because that would
paint them on gold, yeah,
because that would
to make
work.
Sure it kills that vampire. He didn't have silver.
I guess not. It's maybe they were already silver, so he had to make them special,
gold, just in case.
Yeah. So he shoots his grandmother in her wheelchair with gold bullets. Then he drinks the blood as it's coming out of the bullet wounds.
Trying to get it back.
Yeah, and then he sets her body on fire and her house on fire.
Right.
So yeah, so apparently as a kid, even when he was in kindergarten and shit like that, he was into, the same kind of, he was into vampire shit. He was into killing animals and all this kind of stuff. He kind of got obsessed with this idea that his grandmother was a vampire predator and that while he was sleeping, she would take his blood and that she was drinking it. So he thought that the only way he could get rid of her and get her out of his life was shooting her with gold bullets. For whatever reason, he thought that regular bullets wouldn't kill her, that they had to be gold bullets, but so he had...
Well, silver kills the werewolf, so gold have to kill...
Well, silver's supposed to kill vampires, too, because it's right. that whole... Well, silver is supposed to be...
He's taking it one notch above that.
I guess so.
Right.
It's
I'm really scared to use platinum.
I'm going to use diamond bullets.
Platinum's what you use to kill the thing.
But yeah, so he was actually, this is another guy who was in a mental institution. He was in there for 3 years, from 1975 to 1978. And so they knew something was wrong with him from the beginning, but it's like, I guess they thought that he was okay and like let him out. And then like 2 years later, he did this kind of shit. But because even when he was a little kid, like they said, he started out like drawing horrible pictures of like blood everywhere and shit like that. Then he started killing cats and beheading cats. And the second you start killing cats or doing anything bad to cats,
up now,
I'm just like, don't want anything to do with you anymore. I just want you launched into the sun. So he started doing that. And then he starts like sneaking into barns and like drinking blood out of like horses and cows and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. So after he killed his grandmother and they kind of took him in and was like, why did you do it and stuff? And he's like, oh, I'm 700 years old. I need the blood. Or she was like drinking my blood. He couldn't really settle on one story. He said that he thought he was satisfying his masters in the netherworld of vampires by killing a human being.
Yeah.
He thought that if he killed everybody who was bad to him, this is a quote, everybody who was bad to him, he would come back as a handsome man and have a car and girls, and his life would be fine.
Okay.
So, how'd that work out for you, James?
He must not have been good looking.
He, I've seen pictures of him. He was a totally normal looking.
Normal looking?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
perfectly fine looking gentleman.
Thought he'd come back better. He'd come back improved. They'd have a car, ride, babes.
I suppose. Babes.
Babes.
Car full of babes.
They'd have a good haircut.
Oh, man, now I want to start a female punk band called Car Full of Babes.
Yeah.
I have so many bands I have to start because I have so many good names. So apparently they put the guy on trial. They found him guilty of second-degree murder, also of arson, because like I said, he set his grandmother's body and her house on fire. He also, they put him in prison, and then later on, he stabbed one of the guards at the prison. Mm-hmm. But they put him on trial again for that, and they let him off with it because reason of insanity.
Yeah, crazy.
Which clearly he was. Right. Now, he has like applied for parole a bunch of times.
Yeah, they're like, fuck no.
And they're just like, fuck no, you are not going anyplace. You are clearly a crazy person. Now, he comes up before the parole board in 2009. This was his second time that he was coming up for parole. And, you know, they turned him down. Now, he said, oh, you know, I've been going to therapy. I don't have, like, the resentment thing against my mom anymore, blah-de-blah. But then they found out that he had still been sending, like, threatening letters to his mom. Even as late as 2009, he was still doing that shit.
Damn.
So what he said was that when he was a kid, that his mom would perform, quote-unquote, witch rituals on him. And was like trying to turn him into a... Yeah, it's like he clearly had some fucking problems. I mean, he sounds like he had some schizophrenia.
He's schizophrenic.
And it really does sound like... I mean, they put him in a mental hospital, so clearly they knew there's something the matter with him, but obviously not enough that they kept him in there, because that's probably what they should have done. But yeah, so the rest of the family is like, we don't know what you're talking about. Your mom was totally fine to you. She didn't do any witchy shit. I don't know what your deal is. He came up for parole again in 2015 and was denied again, at which point he attempted to sue the parole board because he said they were violating his constitutional rights to kill his grandma and drink her blood, I suppose. But he lost. The judge was like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't know what his argument was. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, because you guys aren't letting me out? I just feel like...
Crazy.
You're in jail, man. I mean, that's the point of you being in jail, is you can't get out unless we tell you that you can get out.
He's crazy.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's in a way, like, I don't feel bad for the guy, but it's like, he's clearly a nut. Because
you can't let him out, they'll endanger other people.
That's what I mean. You can't let him out. It's like, I just wish that they had kept him in the institution, because it's clearly where he belonged.
Yeah.
Because he really does seem to believe this shit. That he is a very old vampire, and he still seems to believe it, even nowadays.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any. They should just keep him in a hospital.
Yeah, I ain't worried about it.
I don't know, but
I'm not worried about it.
All right, so that's probably about the first half of the show.
All right.
And you're probably getting down to the bottom. Oh,
yeah, it's almost time for me to make another one.
Man, look at how much he has. Look how much I have. Well, because I have to talk more because
I'm working on it.
Because I have the notes.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't just like stop every time because then there'll be like all this dead air while you're like just sitting there. And I'm just like trying to drink.
I'm going to have to make that next one a light one because that one there is...
I know by the time we get to the end of this, you're going to be like,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be like doing all kind of crazy. You're going to be falling over in the chair and knocking,
No, I'm
knocking Dennis over.
No, I hold it together.
Dennis is going to have to like chastise you. If you
Jenny, will you leave Tom alone? Let that man does what a man does. Sometimes a man needs a drink. He's been over there.
I don't know if I should listen to advice from Dennis Rader.
It is so good.
I told him, I said, when it's like holiday show, when it's Christmas, we need to get him a little bitty Santa hat.
Yeah, all right.
I think. He needs a hat anyway, because look how his head is just so bulbous.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll do kind of like a longer segment where we will talk about Rod Ferrell and his vampire clan, and we'll also talk about the vampire of Sacramento, Richard Trenton Chase.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in just a minute. You love true crime. I love true crime. And I've spent the last 3 years compiling a series of the most intriguing unsolved murders of the 20th century. It's called The Faceless Villain, and Volume 3 is available now. Featuring such fascinating cases as the Ketty murders, the Carey babies case, the Frog Boys, the Alcasar murders, and the Inokashira Park dismemberment incident, The Faceless Villain Volume 3 is an involving exploration of unsolved slayings spanning the years from 1980 to 1999. Pick up your copy in print or ebook formats on Amazon, or download the audiobook version from audible.com, and get ready for a chilling journey through modern crime history.
Way too risky a response given his current situation, so it's simply repressed until conditions change. We also briefly see a young Jennifer Aniston who plays the waitress.
Sun kind of bright.
That Peter has a crush on.
That sun too bright for you.
We also learn that Peter has a girlfriend who is likely cheating on him.
Sun too bright.
He wants him to see a hypnotherapist to help him get out of his rut. The three.
Oh my goodness. We gave the kitties catnip. Oh wow, alright. They're having a roll-off.
Yeah.
They're having a roll-off.
Oh, it's just like...
Oh, I feel like I should rate them like at the Olympics. 8.5. Look at you guys go. Rolling so fun. Look at Beijing's like scooting.
She's looking at me like she's pissed.
You guys are hilarious. Where are you going, Beijing? You're going out of frame. You're just scooting all the way over there. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Drugs are cool. Damn. Beijing's having a good time. Don't you guys fight?
Yeah, they'll bust out fighting and then
Yeah. Yeah, they're already looking at each other like, Yeah, see, yep.
She defended herself.
Yeah. Good girl, Pook.
Yeah.
Don't let her pick on you like that. I know she's bigger. Bigger and fluffier. All right, we're back. Talking about more vampire killers.
Yeah, I made another drink, but this one's weaker.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
It's a little bit weaker, yeah.
Because otherwise she'll just be like...
Oh, that was fucking ringing my bell there.
Incoherent at the end of it.
I know half the damn audience is lit, though, too. They're telling me they're drinking. They're sending me PMs.
We're inspiring alcoholism all over
They're
the
like,
globe.
Yeah, I just get a drink and listen to you guys. Some of them, a lot of you people are just falling asleep. You got headphones on. It's all good. It's all entertainment, people.
Well, yeah.
It's infotainment.
Yeah, sort of info.
Yeah. Storytainment.
Yeah. So now we're gonna get more into like these bigger cases of better known vampire killers. We're gonna talk about Rod Ferrell.
Yeah.
And his vampire clan.
Yeah.
Now, this one, I remember hearing a lot about this one because this happened, even though he's not originally from here, this happened in Eustis, which is only about 40 miles from here.
Yep.
So that's where the murder happened.
That's where Candace lives.
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, that's
Yep.
where the lawyer was that you worked for. So Ron Ferrell was originally from a little shithole town called Murray, Kentucky. Now, I was watching a documentary about this case earlier. It's on YouTube. I'm not sure if it was like, I don't know, the Crime Channel or whatever the hell it was, but somebody did one about it. And I'm watching it, and this town where they live, I'm sure this documentary was several years old, but it's like, I don't know. I got a real satanic panic vibe from like these old people, like all the kids' parents, like other people, like a businessman that owned like a skating rink in town or something like that. And they were just talking about, you know, how there was like satanic cults or vampire cults, and they would all like, then look, they would all hang out right here by this corner. I'm like, oh, you mean that's like where all the goths would hang out?
They're goth kids is what they were.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, one of them killed somebody, but
Yeah.
it's, you know. So it just seemed like there was kind of this whole...
More mainstream people kill people.
Yeah, and it's like...
People
but,
that like rap music kill lots of people.
well, the thing is, it's like people that look all kind of ways kill people.
Yeah, kill all kinds of people.
So
right,
it's like,
yeah.
but people only make a big deal out of it
If
when
you
it's
look a
like,
little bit different.
If you look a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, what was funny is that, you know, we were around during that time. You had the damn Columbine shooting, and somehow the Columbine, they called them the trench coat mafia.
Yeah.
They kind of had a goth look. Those
Sort
two
of.
kids, but not really. They
Not
actually
really.
liked KMFDM, which is another band. It's actually a very good band.
Yeah.
And they hung out with goth kids, though. If you looked at the little pack that they hung out with, but they
Yeah.
didn't all kill people. They just
Yeah.
those two guys did.
Yeah.
You know, and but anyway, yeah, they're always pointing out the fucking oddest looking ones.
Right.
But statistically, the oddest looking ones, these goth kids, actually were the safest ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, statistically, they wouldn't bother you.
And honestly,
They were the artsy fartsy kids.
yeah, and
man.
honestly,
Fucking, come on.
growing up in that subculture, it's like
Yeah.
those people tended to be a lot nicer than
Yeah.
the normal-looking kids as well.
You know,
In general.
Growing up the way I did, I'm telling you, everybody knows the truth. You are not going to get your ass kicked by a goth kid. You just fucking weren't.
No.
You're going to get
it's
your ass
just not
kicked
gonna
by
happen.
a jock,
Yeah,
most likely. Yeah.
and we did.
Yeah. I didn't. The jocks liked me.
Well, I didn't, but like some
Yeah.
friends of mine did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I had that damn Sigma male way of fucking, you know what I mean?
getting around shit.
Getting around shit. Well, I'm an alpha male gone wrong. So I can speak the same language as them. You know what I mean? I could tell them to fuck off too. You know what I mean? I knew where they were coming from. So but I knew the dynamic between all these American subcultures.
Yeah.
You know, and I was probably the same way in Australia. Probably, I don't know if it's the same way in England, but probably through most of the Western world, you kind of have a lot of that same dynamic. Although I heard that British high school is nothing like American high school.
I don't
I
know.
mean, it's
From what
nothing.
I've heard about it, and like I said, my ex-husband was British. It sounded fairly similar.
They don't have cheerleaders, evidently.
Well, no,
They don't have a lot of the cultural shit.
Well,
that we
they don't have like that whole sports thing. Like sports, they have a lot of sports, but it's usually like separate.
And I heard that
You have
British
sports like in your town, but that's not like a school thing.
I heard that British
normally.
people thought that the idea of high school kids driving was just something out of the movies. No, high school kids in the U.S. drive. And evidently that's something that in Europe they didn't think that was actually happened. I had a car.
I was too poor to have a car.
You were poor.
Yeah.
I had a car.
Yeah.
But
A
the
lot of
thing
my
is-
friends had cars, though.
Yeah. Well, in the Michigan, in the high school in Michigan that I had, that I went to, 11th and 12th graders all had cars.
Yeah. I went to kind
Yeah.
of like an upper middle class high school just
Yeah.
because I kind of got lucky where I lived. But it's like
Cars were not expensive.
most
though.
of them had cars. Yeah.
These cars were $700, $800, maybe $1,200 cars. They were not
Yeah.
talking about, $9,000, $10,000, $20,000 cars. These were in the United
Yeah,
States.
they're
you can-
like old beaters.
yeah, in the United States you can get a car for fucking $500.
Yeah. Well,
You
and
know?
sometimes they would get
A
like
decent, okay
well,
car.
and sometimes the teenagers, like when they turned 16 or 17, like their parents would give them an old one, like if they were
Yeah.
going to buy a new one. So it was
Right.
just like a hand-me-down
A hand-me-down car.
type of thing. Like, I had a
And
lot
that
of
car
friends that
might be
had
a
that.
nice damn car. You know what I mean?
I mean, a lot of them were old, but they still ran and shit.
In 86 and 87, there were guys at high school that had the damn Buick Grand National, which was a badass car in its day. You'd see Corvettes. You would see fucking convertibles, but you saw jalopies too.
Yeah.
But you just, you might see a badass Corvette Stingray. Owned by a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he was getting some trim too. Okay, just the way it was.
Well, a lot of the kids had jobs too.
They had jobs, so
Usually just like shitty fast food jobs,
Yeah.
but they were still living at home, so that was just like to pay for insurance and whatnot.
right. But I heard some British people asking on YouTube one time, do American girls really wear cheerleader outfits?
Well, they're
Yeah.
cheerleaders. Well, like I
cheerleaders
said,
wear
it's not.
outfits.
They don't have like that relationship. One, they don't have American football. That's not a thing.
Right.
I mean, they've heard of it. They do have it on TV over there, but it's not like a huge thing that people
Yeah.
watch. They have soccer and rugby. And that doesn't really have like they don't have that, like that whole
They don't have
football pep rally. They don't have
acrobats,
that whole,
and they're out there doing the acrobatic shit.
They don't have
no,
that whole
man. Tell you, man,
thing that
American high
high
school
school
was the shit, and it still is the shit. It probably always will be the shit if you're going to high school in the right place. And
Yeah.
the cheerleaders wore their uniforms, I'd probably say twice a week, wouldn't you say? 'Cause
Well,
they had
depending if it
practices.
was in football season.
Yeah. Well, no, the practices.
Yeah, if they were.
And then there was all the cheer rallies. Remember all those?
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. If it
They're
was in
trying to raise
season,
money.
that they had pep rallies and shit like
Yeah.
that, and like I said, a lot of them had practice after school, or
From what I remember, they trained all year.
I don't
wasn't
really
just-
remember.
it
It
was
was
just-
so long ago.
It wasn't just football season. They trained all year.
Yeah.
Because they trained up for that season. But I remember they were all just dying to become cheerleaders. There was a certain caliber girl back then in the 80s. But I remember the fucking tryouts. I can remember hearing them talking about it. It was a fucking social club.
Well, yeah.
And in those days, they had to be hotties, basically.
Yeah.
It was the only way. And they actually taught them shit. They were acrobats. They were doing flips and
Yeah, there
all
was a
kinds of
lot
stuff.
of it wasn't like just like, oh yay with pom poms, and like back in the old days it's
No.
like they actually had to do like
they had to do shit.
flips and pyramids and
Yeah.
shit like those kind of
High
like
jumps and
strenuous, yeah.
catching people and shit. I even in those days I wasn't into that shit. I still respected them
Yeah.
because they were athletes. They
Yeah,
were,
that's still
they
athletic.
were acrobats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. But yeah, I mean, what you see in the movies, high school type movies, that is fairly accurate.
pretty
I mean,
accurate.
it's obviously like a little bit,
And if you're not
exaggerated for movies.
if
but
you're not an American, if you want the gestalt of American high school to this day, I would probably say that damn that movie Grease fucking pretty much spells it out.
it hasn't changed
It
much.
hasn't
since
changed
then.
much, and fucking, and even in the '80s, that Grease pretty much called it. That's what it felt like.
I was gonna say more like the Breakfast Club,
That too.
or
but there's something about
or
that-
prom night. If you want the more horror angle.
Something about that. There's something about that fucking Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta, Grease. Something about those songs and the feeling of that movie is what it felt like to be in high school.
Mine was more Heathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to high school between Brazil and Detroit, and in Detroit it was just like Grease
Yeah.
because they were all automobile industry people.
Yeah.
And the children of automobile industry, it was just like that.
Yeah, like I said, mine
Yeah.
was more like Heathers. Well, that's why when Heathers came out, because I think Heathers came out either the year before I graduated or the year I graduated. I think it was 89 or 90. And when that came out, me and all my friends were like, oh shit, man,
Yeah.
that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's exaggerated, obviously, but it's like,
Yeah.
that was kind of what it was.
Breakfast Club too.
Yeah. Breakfast Club a little more, but because Heathers
Yeah.
was kind of like, you had the four main girls and they were like super, they had like those coordinated outfits and like all that other kind of shit.
Certain
going on,
elements of Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
I kind of related to Molly Ringwald's character in that.
Yeah, certain elements.
Because she was kind of broke and had like
Yeah.
thrift store clothes and they made fun of her because of that and stuff. So I could like relate to that. You know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
that's why I related to that in the movie.
Yeah.
Although she had a phone in her room and I'm like, how poor
Yeah, how the
can
hell
that
you do
bitch?
that?
How poor can that bitch be? You have
Yeah.
a car and a phone in your room. You
Yeah.
can't be that fucking poor.
I had a phone in my room, but it was all on the same line as everybody else.
That's
So
yeah,
you had to-
exactly. So it's
really
like,
didn't. Oh, you just plug it in.
yeah.
But they wouldn't let you. Couldn't make long distance calls back in those days.
Well, and people could like pick
Just
it up
like-
in the other room and listen to
Listen to
your
what you were saying. Right?
Yeah, so it's like it wasn't like having your own phone.
No.
But yeah. So what were we talking about? Rod Ferrell.
Talking about Rod Ferrell, a dynamic between goths and the fucking normal society at that time.
Yeah.
You had a lot of the old fogies looked at goth kids like it was something really unusual, but they just didn't understand what they were seeing. They didn't understand.
And I really did get that feeling from this Rod Ferrell documentary, because I know these people, and like I said, I'm sure it was several years old. The murders happened in, 96 or something like that. And, it happened in Kentucky, this little bitty town in Kentucky, which, looked pretty backwards. I'm not going to, lie. But they were still talking like it was like early 80s, satanic panic kind of time. It's like they'd see a kid, a kid wearing like black clothes with like black fingernails, and they think they're like evil incarnate, and they're like talking about him in church and shit like that.
This is the boomer perspective of X generation. That's part of it, and some of those boomers had a real, they were very much influenced by the 50s. I mean, they really cared about how people looked. I mean, they didn't want you wearing black clothing. They didn't want, because it meant something to them. It didn't really mean anything to us. Couldn't wear yellow on Tuesday. That meant you were gay. Just all kinds of weird shit.
They had all these weird rules.
They had these weird fucking rules back. Boomers were fucking bizarre. They still are bizarre. Well, your hair is green. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like as if that has some kind of significance, because it had a significance to them.
Yeah.
Colors of things.
I guess.
Like, I like to wear black all the time. My mother was like, why are you always wearing black? Only hoods wore black. And I'm like, man, fuck off.
Well, it's like it never even occurred to me. It's like I just like black. It's like when I go to the store to buy clothes.
If you look at people that are just colorful dressed, the more colors they got on them, these are clowns. Clowns wear a lot of fucking colors, whether they're clowns or not. Okay? You read into what I just said. You as the listener. The more colors on a person, the closer they are to a clown. All right? I don't like a lot of color.
I don't either.
Yeah, I like
honestly.
a subdued color, subdued shit, and I don't have to be loud and nothing confusing. I'm not a fishing lure. I'm not trying to evade predators or any shit like that. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of that's about. It's like a World War I fucking naval camouflage called Dazzle. Look that shit up. Just every fucking color, every fucking pattern. It's all clashing. That way you don't know what the fuck it is you're seeing. You don't know what the fuck it is you're seeing, and you can't hit it. And that's what all that color is all about.
I don't know what it is, man. It's like, to be honest, it's if anybody asked me like what it mean, that's why it's a meaningless question. Like asking somebody, like you said, like boomers and stuff like that would ask like our generation, like, what does it mean? Yeah. I was like, it means I like black clothes.
Yeah, but that must mean something.
It didn't though.
Yeah.
It's like, when I was a kid, I was like really into like witchy stories and ghost stories, and I really liked the Addams Family. And I just wanted to look like Morticia.
Well, they were growing up. They were growing up in the '60s, and they were coming out of a '50s environment. In the '50s environment, you can go look at it. You can watch interviews of people that went through the '50s, and they'll tell you what the '50s and the '60s were like. They were very regimented. The United States was very much like Japan at that time. If you could really understand the way Japan was, I went to high school with some Japanese students. Everything is very ritualized, so everything does mean something. Everything's very controlled. There isn't much individuality, and that's the way they were. So if you were black, if you wore all black, then you're some kind of a hood. That meant something.
Or Satanist, yeah.
Or a Satanist, right, yeah.
I got called Satanist lots of times.
Black was cool color, or a lack of color.
It's very slimming.
And you can do things with it.
Well, yeah, and the nice thing about it is
black and gray.
Yeah, like you can do shit. It goes with everything.
Goes with everything. And
you can have most of your wardrobe is black, and then you could just have a couple like little...
Looks serious. It's kind of formal. You know what I mean? It doesn't stand out. You can vanish in a crowd. But it doesn't mean anything.
I mean, I just always thought it was cool looking.
Aesthetics. It's aesthetics.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like the whole goth scene, it doesn't mean anything. I don't think I'm a vampire or nothing like that. I just thought it was cool looking, and the music was cool.
Goth was always aesthetic.
Yeah, that's like a big part of it.
It really, Addams Family and the Munsters, I think, is where
that's
it came
what I mean. Like that was one of my earliest influences as a kid. I used to love the fucking Addams
Mela
Family.
Nurmi, also known as Vampira.
Vampira, yeah.
She was probably the original goth aesthetic woman.
Yeah.
And she got it from the Addams Family cartoons.
Yeah.
It's 50s. So that's where it comes from.
I can't believe she was like walking around looking like that in the 50s. That is so fucking awesome. She had like the first fucking Chelsea, as far as I know.
Yeah.
That hairstyle.
With all shaved, just bangs. And she looked good like that.
It was badass looking. Yeah. And I was like, imagine, and that was like a long time ago.
Long 50-something.
It's fucking killing me that she was walking around like that. She was way ahead of her time.
Way ahead of her time. California scene, hung out with James Dean. James Dean didn't like her, eventually kicked her to the curb. She was a little bit of a nutcase, but she was... A little bit, yeah. She was stylistically ahead of her time. Very much.
Oh, yeah, way ahead of her. Yeah, way ahead.
Yeah.
I have a vampire.
And you know what's funny is that her aesthetic got picked up by the Mexican-American community.
Yeah.
And all the cholo girls with their eye makeup and shit was all based on what they were seeing from Mela and from the 50s era.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that.
I can see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of gothic look in Mexican-American female fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
came from that because it's L.A.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yep.
So Rod Ferrell is kind of like in this little buttfuck town in Kentucky. He's
and
hanging...
Yvonne DiCarlo was Mexican.
Yeah.
Okay, like Lily Munster, she was Mexican.
Well, a lot they did that a lot back then. Like all those actresses and stuff. Like look at fucking wasn't it like Rita Hayworth and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. If you were Mexican or Central American or something like that,
Mexican-American, they change your name.
They would dye your hair blonde or red or whatever. Yeah. They would change your name so it didn't sound so ethnic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of those actresses were actually
Mexican-American.
Mexican-American
were heavy into Hollywood, going back to the fucking golden age of Hollywood.
Just a lot of people didn't know that.
People didn't know about it. They just changed the names. All
they
show
just
business.
changed their names. And I've heard they bleach their skin too, but I don't know.
And then, of course, fucking Ricardo Montalban, sexy motherfucker Wrath of Khan, right? Mexican.
Yeah.
And,
we just watched that the other day.
Mexican, yeah. He kind of pulled himself off as some kind of a Spaniard. Nah, Tijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's just kind of like if you're gonna be an actor, you gotta like reinvent yourself. So you gotta have to like the most exotic version of yourself.
Make it dance.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like although you can't get away with it nowadays because everybody knows everything about everybody. But back then you could. Yeah. You could just like make up a whole identity for yourself, and no one would be the wiser. Mm-hmm. So he's in this town called Murray, Kentucky, and he had a single mom, and I don't think he ever really knew his dad because I guess that the dad left when he was still a baby. So like when he was just a month old or something like that. So he got raised by a single mom. I think her name was Sandra Gibson or something like that. So he starts to get a little bit older and he gets into Vampire the Masquerade, that card game, which I never played that. It was really big though.
Man, my cousin fucking, I can tell you stories about that shit. Coming out of Man Ray, it was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was gothed out, and my cousin lived in outside New Orleans, and he was like, dude, do you play Vampire Masquerade? I was like, no, man, that's the first time I heard of live action role playing. I thought that was the dorkiest shit ever. Dorkiest shit. He was probably about 13. He said, dude, you better play that. I said, man, I ain't gonna play that shit, man. What are you talking about? But they had some dudes that lived out in the middle of nowhere that didn't have clubs. That was their version of the goth scene.
What else are you gonna do?
Card game.
You live in Murray, Kentucky. What the fuck are you gonna do?
So I think that's where Ferrell first went wrong. That's where he first went wrong.
He started playing Vampire the Masquerade.
Vampire the Masquerade because they didn't have any clubs there.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right, Murray, Kentucky. Get some clubs, and you won't have these problems because people will have a place to go instead of sitting around playing cards.
Because in a club, there's a social scene, and they keep each other in fucking check and stop all the dorkism. And they will also
the dorkism.
They'll also step on the dicks of any criminalism that comes. You know what I mean? Like this weird thing where, yes, I am a vampire, and I'm gonna go kill some people.
Nobody's like, they would laugh.
They would laugh at you.
Stop it.
If you started to think that way in a real goth club. In that days. Yeah.
Well, especially back then. I mean,
they'd be you're fucking dork.
Particularly goths in the 80s and 90s are very well known for their withering contempt.
Bitches.
For people that weren't like, you know what I mean? That's all they did was gossip.
They were the Army Rangers of bitches.
They were.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as that anymore.
No, not bad.
They're a lot more chill nowadays.
Yeah.
But back then it's like everyone was just like a
they were up your ass about what you were wearing and fucking everything.
Yeah, you couldn't like wear the wrong thing if you had the wrong shoes or something like that.
You said the wrong thing.
They wouldn't say anything to your face, but they would like say a bunch of shit behind your back.
back.
Yeah. They'd like all talk about you.
Yeah.
It was like Mean Girls, but goths. So he gets into Vampire the Masquerade because, like you said, there was nothing better to do. So he gets more into that, and he starts going around telling people that he's a 500-year-old vampire named Visago.
Yeah, which I think Yamaha made a damn motorcycle called a Visago. No, it's called a Virago. That's right. Yeah,
Close
Virago.
enough.
I was gonna call him Yamaha.
Well, you can still call him that if you
I'm
want
gonna
to.
call this bitch Yamaha.
So he was hanging out with these friends. They interviewed the friends that he had hung out with, like, before he went on his murderous rampage. And they seemed, like, dorky, but nice enough. You know what I mean? It's like they were from Kentucky, and they obviously wanted to get the fuck out of this town, and they were talking about how the town was all rednecks, and, like, everyone was making fun of them, and, you know, they got beat up and shit like that, which, you know, I feel that. I get where you're coming from.
Rednecks did not have the proper context for goth.
No, they really didn't.
No.
Well, especially not back then. It's like...
No, they still kind of don't.
That's true.
Although I think it's more goth-friendly. We've run across rednecks. We were fucking totally decked out for the club, and they loved it.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of abuse anymore.
No,
it's not like the 80s and 90s.
No, I was remember we were at the gas station in that 4x4 of all this.
Oh, that's right.
The damn lawn
it had
crew.
mud all over
They had
it.
the mud all in. They were fucking they were a lawn crew. And they, dude, you look badass. It's like, thanks, man. What do? You know, I'm hosting the club now. Oh man. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, they were super into it.
Yeah. But back in the 90s,
nice.
I'd have probably got my ass kicked if I was fucking 20.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It happened a lot. It happened to a lot
Yeah.
of my friends. It's like, even if you were just like walking down the street, like to the club or whatever, it's like
Yeah.
people would throw shit out of their cars at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was. They would. And it's like, you freak. And they'd be like throwing beer cans and shit at you. It was awful. But yeah, so now it's like, I guess because people have like a more, like a context, like you said, of like
Yeah.
what it is. So they
Yeah.
know that it's not scary or dangerous or anything like that. So a lot more people are like appreciative of it.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's kind of weird sometimes, because sometimes we'll be waiting to get in the bar and like people are coming up and going, "Oh, I love it,"
Yeah, and then they want to take selfies.
and then they'll want to take pictures, and
Take
then they're
pictures,
just
yeah.
like too complimentary, and then it just
Yeah.
gets weird, and you want them to go away.
Yeah.
But it's better than getting your butt kicked, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, baby steps.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he's going around saying he's a 500-year-old vampire named Visago. Now, he had been hanging out with these friends who all kind of lived in this scuzzy house in Murray, Kentucky. Now, apparently, one of the things that kind of caused them to have a falling out was he found a kitten in the woods or something like that. It was alive, and he picked it up and he was playing with it, and he said, according to him, because there was part of an interview on this documentary that I watched, he said, oh, the kitten like clawed him, you know, like almost, and he got mad because he's like, oh, you ingrate, like I picked you up and like you just like clawed me, but that's like cats, that's what cats do. And so he takes the kitten, turns it over like on his back, and then like threw it against a tree and killed it, like broke its back. And this was like in front of his friends, and they were just like, yeah, nah, man. They were just like, and then they were kind of like not friends anymore.
Right.
So then
You're a dick.
yeah, because it's like they're like, look, we like to drink each other's blood and like play vampire games and, you know, say we're this, that, and the other thing. But come on, that's like killing it. That's like serial killer shit.
He would have got his ass whipped if I was around there.
That's what I
I'd
mean.
kick
Like I
his ass.
said, anybody hurt animals, that's like that's not.
It's a sign of a fucking.
That's
It's a sign of a fucking pussy. It
yeah.
just is.
Why would
I
you
mean-
do that to a little defenseless animal?
And here's the deal. You know, I'm not okay. I'm an ex-hunter, and I would go out and hunt deer right now. All right, but I just got certain standards. You know what I mean? Quick, clean kills, only for food. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't believe in trapping. Okay, even there's a little Tennessee girl. What's her name? Hannah something or other. And she does all this outdoor stuff. I saw her trapping raccoons, and I didn't really like that. I don't like any kind of trapping.
I don't either.
I find trapping to be unsporting.
Yeah.
Okay, at least of mammals. Trot lining shit like fish. Fish are robots.
Yeah, I'm
They're-
not really that worried about
fuck
fish.
fish. You know what I mean? You can eat them, all right. But trapping these mammals and then going up and executing them and just, you know what I mean, just to fur and shit like that. I don't believe in that.
I couldn't do that.
I mean, if I needed a fur coat to survive the coming winter and in the wild, I can understand that. But
just doing it for the sake of doing it when you don't need to.
I don't like it. I don't like that shit.
Well, because all I can think of is like animals.
And I've killed many animals, but I ate all of them.
Well,
And they were game animals, not
Yeah.
pets. And I'm starting to see shit like raccoons as pets, you know what I mean? Because they're friendly little fucking creatures. The same thing with black bear. They're basically very friendly.
Well, and raccoons are pretty smart, too.
Yeah, so I'm not into that, you know, trapping fucking raccoons.
Well, and I don't like... I even don't like, you know what, every now and then, like, I go down the YouTube rabbit hole of watching, like, you know, funny cat videos and stuff, just like we all do. But I even don't like the ones where people are, like, deliberately scaring their cats or, like, stressing their cats out.
Putting the
just
fucking
to make,
zucchini.
Yeah, just to make them do something funny. Yeah, it's funny, but I don't think you should be, like, stressing your cat out like that.
Yeah.
Because it's different. I don't even like pranking a person, and I don't like being pranked, but at least the person is, like, cognizant, knows it's a prank. The cat doesn't know. It's like the cat's just, like, fucking stressed out, and it thinks, why are you being so mean to me, you asshole? I thought you were my friend. And then you're, like, stressing the cat out. I don't understand why you would do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to people. It's like, I feel bad if I do something, because sometimes I'll scare her accidentally because I don't know she's there or something like that. And I feel bad about that.
I just think it's a sign of a morally bankrupt and subhuman person to kill creatures and to make creatures suffer needlessly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why would you?
I'm not into that shit.
Because
that's why I'm very anti-China with the way that they treat animals. There's a lot of bad shit happening in China. I've said it a couple times on the show. You can just Google it on DuckDuckGo, Chinese animal cruelty. See the way that they handle animals for slaughter and shit. And I just, man, skinning dogs alive and letting them walk around. They think that pain makes meat taste better, which is a fucking backwards fucking concept. So they torture the things that they eat. Oh man, that just...
See, I couldn't do that. And like, I eat meat, but it's like, I don't...
Those animals are all clean, slaughtered, instant killed.
That's what I mean. It's like, don't... as long as they don't suffer, just don't make them suffer. I don't understand.
Now, the Chinese are taking it to where they're torturing them to make them taste better. Which does not work. That doesn't work. No, that's an ignorant.
That's a magical.
That's a stupid magical thing. Yeah, it doesn't make the meat more tender. Yeah, we have spice. We have tenderizer. Okay.
We have things. You don't have to do that anymore.
No. Well, I don't think it ever worked. It's just it's some kind of a damn folklore that they believe in. You know what I mean? And no, they just. I don't understand how somebody can't have empathy for a mammal. I can cut a fish heads off.
Yeah.
But a fish is not a mammal. A fish has a very primitive nervous system. They're very much like a robot or a machine. They don't, you know what I mean? But to do that to something that was a house pet, like a cat or a dog, man, I will fuck you up. You're fucking crazy.
That's what I mean. And that's why anytime, and this happens a lot with these types of killers and shit like that. And it was weird because, like, I'm watching, I watched a couple documentaries, like I watched one on Rod Ferrell, I watched one on Richard Chase and stuff like that, and they were trying, because a lot of them killed cats when they were kids, and some psychiatrists think this because they see a cat as like a female, like a symbol of females that they can't get, or they, you know what I mean? So that's like how they start out. But it's like the guy said the weirdest thing. He said something like, oh, you know, torture animals and stuff, like, oh, a lot of kids do that. I'm like, do they?
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I don't think they do. But it's like, oh, well, when it gets to a point where you're, like, killing cats and stuff. I mean, maybe, like, you know, maybe burning ants with a fucking...
Yeah, squashing bugs and...
Maybe that.
Magnifying glasses.
With magnifying glass with ants and shit like that. Yeah, my brothers and shit did that. But it's like, I'm talking about, like, fucking, you know, cats and dogs. It's like, no, I don't think kids
I grew up with a bunch of badass little boys, and none of us ever hurt cats or dogs.
No.
We knew that those were pets.
Yeah.
Just bugs.
Yeah, it's like some people fuck with bugs and stuff.
Bugs, yeah. And bugs are machines.
I even feel bad about that. Well, I don't feel bad about killing cockroaches because fuck cockroaches.
That's what we were fucking with, cockroaches and ants.
I feel bad about hurting spiders though, because I like spiders.
I don't like them.
I know you don't like spiders. I do though, because they eat roaches, and anything that eats roaches.
There's a big difference between
good in my book.
Insects, arthropods, and fucking mammals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mammals are too closely related to us. They have emotions.
I know. Just look at their little faces.
Yeah, all you gotta do is look at their faces, and you can read human emotions in them.
Well, shit. Our cat like talks to it, like answers our questions and shit.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So you shouldn't have to kill. You should definitely not kill them for no reason. For food, I can understand it. But you don't torture them.
Yeah, if it's like the zombie apocalypse and you're going to starve to death or something like that, okay, fine. But...
And there are some animals that have evolved as prey animals. like all those herd animals evolved with very high reproductive rates because there were always big cats and dogs and shit like that eating them. So we're talking about deer and antelope and water buffalo and buffalo and cows and shit like, even though cows are artificial creations of humans. But stuff like that's meant to be eaten. All right. But you still don't torture those.
Yeah, because why would you?
Yeah.
There's no reason for
There's
it.
no reason to torture an animal.
No. Mm-mm. And that's why this makes me so angry.
Right.
And particularly, and I like dogs too, but it's like anytime I hear about a person that like did something bad to a cat, I just like, I don't understand it.
No.
I don't understand it.
We got to get back to the story, though.
So, yeah. So after he slams a kitten against a tree, you guys, all his friends were like, just, yeah, no, let's not be friends with that guy anymore. So he decides that he's going to go and form his own vampire clan, as he called it, because he's not super original. Old Vizago goes and tries to find
Yamaha.
his own acolytes that perhaps will not mind his kitten murdering.
Yeah.
So he gets this other guy named Howard Scott Anderson, a girl named Charity Kesey, and a girl named Dana Cooper. They were all from kind of like broken homes and stuff like that. I guess there was a lot of the shit going on. There was a lot of poverty and whatnot in this town. So, you know, a lot of single mothers and, you know, drunks and stuff. So he kind of becomes the leader of this little group. Now, he seemed happy for a while, but then his mom decides that she is going to move from Murray, Kentucky to Eustis, Florida, which I said is only about 40 miles from here, because that's where her boyfriend at the time lived.
Yeah, now her mom is kind of a scenester. She's kind of a goth chick herself, from what I understand.
Well, I read in a couple of different sources, I don't know how true this is, but I heard that she was the one that kind of got Rod into, like, Vampire the Masquerade and, like, all the Anne Rice shit and all that kind of stuff.
And evidently
she was into that.
And evidently she looked very young and acted very young, so she was almost kind of like a friend of theirs. That's how I remember. That's how
she
Candace
did look
told
pretty
me that.
young. She did look pretty young in the documentary, and I don't remember what year that was from. It was, you know, but
Candace told me that back in the very early part of this whole thing when it started, in other words, at the time that they're talking about right here, is that the mom actually was like friends with all the kids, that there wasn't a big difference in age or maturity level.
She was like cool mom.
So what you're talking about is kind of like, you know, kind of like some of the scenesters that we know, like Sonia and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because I think she was pretty young. I think
Yeah.
she was only 18 or 19 years old when she had him.
Yeah, so they're like in their 30s, but they're still partying.
Yeah.
And they're partying with their own kids.
Right.
And they're all kind of like doing the same thing. Which is kind of weird, but not as weird.
But not really.
Under that circumstances.
Yeah.
Because
I don't find it that weird.
shit, we know certain scenesters that are our age, and every now and then their kids show up to the club.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of friends. We have some friends that are older than us.
Yeah.
We have some friends with, you know, with kids that are grown.
Yeah,
that are old enough to come out with them.
Yeah.
And we'll come out with them.
They don't really hang out with them per se in the club.
But they'll bring
they're
them,
in
you
the
know,
club.
and they'll bring their own friends, like
Right,
of their
yeah.
own age.
So it's like two different cliques.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's all that weird. Yeah, so he gets he has to move to Eustis, where the mom's boyfriend lives. And this is where he meets Heather Wendorf. Now, apparently he really liked her at the time. I think she was only 15 at the time. I think he was only 15 or 16. And they kind of had a little bit of a relationship going there, and he was going to, like, induct her into the vampire clan and everything. But then apparently the mom and the boyfriend broke up, so then he gets yanked out of Eustis, and he gets taken back to Kentucky. So he's back in Kentucky, but he kind of keeps in touch with Heather still, who is back in Eustis, and they've just been talking on the phone and whatnot.
Now, Eustis actually is pretty cool. I actually ride up there quite a bit.
Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not far from here.
Yeah, it's not far from here. And it's farms, and mostly horse farms and houses, and upscale condominiums. So you're not talking about a ghetto. Nice place, Eustis.
Yeah, it is actually a nice place. It's rural, but it's like, you know,
right.
Not rural in the sense of like meth labs or anything.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
not rural in the sense where you don't have access to anything. Fucking
Yeah.
Orlando's close to there.
Yeah.
Now, even in the time we're talking about, there was a good goth club down in Orlando.
Yeah.
He was a little too young to go, though, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, back then.
Right.
He would have been too young. You would have had to have been 18.
Right.
And I think he was only 15.
But his dumb ass went on this fucking adventure and did all this bad shit when he should have just chilled his fucking ass out over in Eustis. And shit probably would have played out all right.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, and we've talked about this a few times too.
Because Visage was going on at that time, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Even back in the 90s, there was a really good goth scene here. There was there was good clubs. There still is, but it's like, back then there was good clubs. There was all kind of good shows. I used to go to shit all the time.
A friend of ours was running Visage.
That's right.
And Visage, there were damn commercials and the news went to Visage. And he would have fit in real nice at Visage.
Yeah, he would.
Had he waited a couple of years.
Yeah, if he'd have just waited to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
But now he fucked that up, didn't he?
Fucked that shit up.
I don't know. So, for 6 months, he's back in Kentucky, and he's talking to Heather back in Florida. Now, evidently, during these 6 months' worth of phone calls, Heather apparently told Rod that her parents were abusive, and that she wrote him letters too, and she said shit like, my home life is hell. I wish someone would murder my parents. Apparently, she said to him. So they thought later on, like after what happened, they thought that maybe he kind of picked up on this shit that she was saying and thought he was just going to come in like Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yeah.
And he
sometimes
said,
a hoe gotta be saved.
Take care of your little parent problem for you.
Yeah. Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, this is like, I don't know, it's messed up. This whole situation is messed up.
Should have slowed his roll.
Too late now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So November 1996, so Rod and the 3 members of his vampire clan, they get into a car and they're going to drive down to Eustis from Kentucky to pick up Heather so that they can induct her into the vampire clan, which had to do with what they call the crossing over ceremony, which is something that he got from the other friends that he was hanging out with in Kentucky, where it's basically they would just drink each other's blood and just like say some important sounding shit. And then they thought that I don't know, were they I mean, yes, they were vampires in the technical sense that they drank each other's blood.
They were
but
LARPers.
Did they think that they would actually live forever?
No, they were fucking LARPing.
Okay. Because I wasn't clear on that. Because some of them, the way they talked, not so much the friends that he was hanging at, they seemed a little more like low-key. But when he talked, it sounded like he really thought that the blood was going to make him
I talked to Candace about him, and Candace is mainstream as hell. She's like, he was weird. You know what I mean? Daniel was weird. You know, but I could read between the lines.
He's not
of what,
that weird.
What he was he was a fucking out of control, young, goth dude who had nowhere to fucking go, who had collected this fucking little cult of friends that really put him up on a pedestal and that really pumped his head up, where he thought he was very special. And he got into this fucking LARPing, this live action role playing stuff, and he started to incorporate that into part of his identity, and that was his shtick.
Yeah.
Okay. He had convinced himself, as long as he could convince others that he was a vampire, that he would be popular. He wanted to save this girl from her family and be a hero and look important in front of all of his friends. So he went over there and killed this girl's parents.
Yeah.
Right? But, of course, being a dumbass, and being young, the shit fucking collapsed all around him. You can't get away with that in the modern world.
Yeah.
Especially not with so many damn witnesses. And then the girl isn't going to put up with you killing her parents.
Yeah.
Even if she's young.
Even if she did, like, stupidly
she was young, and that's just on
She's
a whim.
15.
She's 15 on a whim. She's wait a minute, I didn't mean go down here and kill him, you know what I mean?
A lot of 15-year-olds say shit like
right.
that. That's just what teenagers do, man. It's all their emotions are all over the place. Hormones are all over the place. They say all kind of dumb shit.
So then once he's in custody, he has to keep this front up, because he can't go, whoa, man, you know. I ain't really mean, and just being a dumb, he has to fucking
keep going.
He has to keep going.
He got some sunk cost fallacy going on there.
Right.
He just has to just lean into it.
and now he's going from the fucking soft ass goth fucking culture into the hard ass prison culture. So he can't just go in there, fuck it. No, he's got to go, no, I am the vampire killer. He's got to do that in prison.
Well, yeah, he's
So
got to
to
like puff
stay
himself
alive.
up and
Right,
probably like act like super crazy.
He's got to act super crazy like he's fucking Charles
Because
Manson.
and I got that vibe.
Right.
I feel like
I think there's a lot in common between him and Charles Manson.
yeah. I definitely got like a similar.
And
vibe
that was
from
the
two
same
of
thing
them.
Charlie was doing. Charlie was 5'3". That motherfucker better act crazy when he goes to prison.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
Right.
and I think the thing about Rod Ferrell and like all the friends that he was hanging out with, I think some of the shit too had to do with this place where they grew up because it was so easy to shock people. Like
Yeah.
it just had like all these old normal people that would like, just like flip the fuck out
Yeah.
like every time somebody had black nail polish on. So after a while, and I get this because I did this too when I was a teenager, it's like the more people get outraged about how you look, like the crazier shit you're gonna do just because
Yeah.
it's hilarious how much they're blowing it out of proportion
Yeah.
and calling you a Satanist and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of funny. So I can see how, that might have contributed, except he like took it way too seriously. You know what I'm saying?
Farrell's problem was ignorance. Okay? You could let him out of prison now. He would not reoffend. Thing is, though, is he's guilty of a double homicide. You can't let him out. He's got to stay in there.
Well, yeah.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
Had he just waited a little bit and outgrown that shit, he'd have been up in the club with us.
That's what I mean. It's like I've thought about that too because that does seem like because some
He'd
of
been
his
a local here. He'd be down at fucking Memento Mori.
yeah,
Fucking
just like we are every third
he'd be
Monday of
down
the month.
Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah.
He would have just been a fine, like
He'd been normal.
maybe a little weird, but we're all a little weird.
Well, you have to understand he was younger back then.
Yeah.
And it was basically pre-internet.
Yeah,
And
it was a different
he
time.
came from poverty.
Yeah,
And lack of information was a lot of his problem, and big ego. But he would have adapted. But I think the Columbine shooters would have adapted also. But can you let these guys run around? Had they
No.
survived? No, you can't.
yeah.
No.
Well, like I said,
they killed too many damn people.
right. That's the thing. It's like you can understand it, but you can't excuse it.
can't
And it's like
excuse
they did it. It's too late now.
Right.
It's like if circumstances had been different, they might have turned out okay.
And I'm not a
but-
snob about homicide. There are some homicides that are forgivable. A lot of it has to do with situation, but not something like what Ferrell did. He killed
there's no excuse for
He
that.
killed two
None
innocent
whatsoever.
people.
Yeah.
He killed two innocent people. It was a double homicide. They didn't threaten him. They weren't fighting him. This was not some kind of disagreement. They were cold-blooded murders.
Yeah.
He's got to go.
He didn't even know them, really.
He didn't even know him. Right.
Like they were just like a girl he liked that was
Right.
her parents. It's like I think he barely knew them.
He's got to do his time.
Yeah.
Maybe you can parole him in his 60s, but
When he's too old to be a threat to anybody.
well, when he's paid.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, he's 15. He's turned 16 in the interim. So what they were going to now initially, or so he said, and so everyone that was with him said, the plan was not to kill her parents. They were just going to break into the house and steal the keys to the parents' Ford Explorer. They had a 1993 Ford Explorer. They were going to steal that car and use it to drive somewhere else, wherever it was they were going to go. Because I guess the car they were in belonged to one of the friends, and it was kind of shitty, and they didn't think it would go very far. So that's apparently what the initial plan was. They weren't going to kill anybody. But then, I guess, Rod decided, no, I think I'm going to kill him. So
He was trying to impress people.
yeah, that's exactly what he was trying to do. So he breaks into the garage, and I don't even think he took a weapon with him, but he found a short crowbar in the garage, and he took that in there with him. Now, Richard Wendorf, the dad, was asleep on the couch, in front of the TV. So Rod figured, and he even said this in the interview, he said, look, if the dude woke up, he'd probably kick my ass because he's just a little skinny kid. So he just starts beating the fuck out of this dude who's sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just beat him with the crowbar, he hit him in the chest as well, because he said he beat him a bunch of times in the head and fucked his fractured his skull.
It was almost a damn fucking Lizzie Borden crime scene, really.
It was, you
It
know
looked
what?
a lot like that.
I saw a close up, and I wish I hadn't. I just saw it
Yeah.
accidentally, but I saw a close up of the dude's head, the crime scene photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a pleasant. Because I'm just like scrolling through the photos looking for shit for the video. I'm just like, oh, god damn it. It's like, why the fuck didn't I have safe search?
Yeah, and he's
on?
not really doing this for this girl, and he's not doing this for himself. He's doing this for all his fucking followers to show them
What a badass he is.
how
quote,
powerful
unquote.
he
Yeah.
is. And then what happened? That motherfucker ended up getting fucking locked up and everybody compromised. What kind of leadership is that?
Right.
All right. Talk about stepping on your own dick. He had everything. He had everything he wanted.
Well, that's the
He
thing.
had-
It's like, why didn't he just... Look, their initial plan was just to steal the keys to the car and just steal the car. If he'd just stolen the car, okay, that's a crime too.
They
But
could've
it's
just
like,
slipped
they
away
could
with
have
the
just
girl.
left.
They could have slipped away with the girl.
She was
and-
going with them.
Yeah.
She went willingly. They didn't take her.
And it would have been very small charges.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, like I said, stealing a car, that's not good. But it's like,
Yeah.
they would have gotten the fuck out of there.
They wouldn't have done any serious time.
No, they wouldn't have. They were minors.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, they probably
Yeah.
would have got written off. It's like, but no, he had to just
They've
like...
been up in the club telling these fucking crazy stories. Remember that time we came?
Remember that time we stole the car?
We took her
We
and got her
took
away
her?
from her parents. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
it would just been a story to tell. They'd have been totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't
Well,
understand, like, what the fuck? What was
This
he
is a
thinking?
case. This is a case where I'm convinced that everybody involved, including fucking Ferrell, these were not fucking like totally nuts psychopaths. They were fucking regular kids doing. He did some stupid fucking shit,
Yeah.
dumbass. But,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the thing. It's
fucking
like,
dumbass.
it's like I
Nah,
said,
yeah.
I hate to say this because it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm excusing it.
No, he's got to do his time.
He does.
Yeah.
But he does not strike me as the same type of person
Nah.
as somebody like the next motherfucker we're going to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about, Richard Chase.
Now Chase is fucking crazy.
He was just a crazy
Yeah.
motherfucker from the outset.
No, he wa-
this kid just seemed like a troubled kid,
Yeah.
and just shit went bad.
Yeah, and he fucking made a
And
stupid fucking
and he just
judgment
did
call.
something really, really stupid.
motherfucker.
When he could have just, like I said, he could have just stolen the car, like the
But
plan was.
here's something else. Charles Manson made that same miscalculation.
Yeah.
Charlie had everything he fucking wanted. He could have stayed up at the Spawn Ranch with all these young girls and gotten endless fucking pussy. He had everything he fucking wanted.
Yeah,
But
why
he
did
had to tell them to go out and kill somebody.
Yeah. That's what it was like. Why you want to shoot yourself in the dick like that? I don't get it.
Stupid.
That is stupid.
Yeah.
And like I said, Rod Ferrell, he had 3 friends. He
Yeah.
had a girl who wanted to go with him.
Yeah.
He had a vehicle.
Yeah.
Apparently they had some money.
They were in an awesome area.
They could have just left. They could have just taken off.
Eventually,
People do it all the time.
they'd be hanging out with fucking Paul and Tina and shit down there. And they would have been in Visage, and they would have been hanging out with Paul and Tina in Visage.
They're doing a Visage reunion at Ibar. You know
Yeah,
that, right?
and
In
because we
December.
know the exact scene that they were around, and
Yeah.
they would have been part of that fucking scene had fucking Ferrell not been such a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all could have gone differently for you, Ron.
Because we know a lot of guys that could have gone. We know a lot of people that could have gone this way.
Yeah.
They just didn't.
They just didn't.
Right.
Because they're not that stupid.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so he beats this sleeping dude to death. Skull's all fucked up. He said in the interview that he's like, well, I beat him a bunch of times in the head, and then I saw that his chest was still rising and falling, like he was still breathing, so I'd like hit him a bunch of times in the chest as well. So he's dead. And then the mom, now he had actually like gone around the house and like cased the joint, so he knew like where the mom and the dad were in the house, like I said before he broke in. So he goes in there, and then after he did that, the mom, Naomi, or I think they called her Ruth, because that was her middle name. She was in the shower, and she came out of the shower and she saw him, and she like lunged at him. And apparently, like, I guess she'd been in the bathroom and she had like a cup of hot coffee in her hair, and she threw it on him. And then according to Rod, she grabbed him like around the neck, and she was like struggling with him and shit like that. So, you know, she tried to like whip his ass, justifiably.
Right.
So Rod still had the cross, the crowbar, and he like pulled it around and he like started stabbing her like in the back of the head with it.
Yeah.
So
Imagine that you're an adult.
So that eventually killed her.
Imagine that you're a calm, cool, and reasonable adult with fucking bills to pay and shit to make, and then you got this crazy motherfucker.
That's what I mean. Some fucking 15-year-old kid is like in here with a crumb. I'm like, what the fuck?
Get the fuck out of here, man. You and your goddamn card game, you know.
That's what I mean. It's like I know that he's got a crowbar and he killed 2 adults. It's like that's terrible and stuff, but it's like how I know exactly what you mean because it's like you'd be like I said, you get out of the shower, I'm in the towel, I'm like fucking combing my hair, and a fucking 15-year-old stupid kid who thinks he's a 500-year-old vampire with fucking hair and acne and shit, like comes in there like all through. I'd just be like, just knock it off, knock it off.
I know.
That's exactly what I would have done.
Every house should have guns.
And
Every house should
I
have
mean,
fucking
she
guns.
was like, and you could tell that the mom in this case was just like not having it because she lunged right at his stupid ass, threw coffee on him and everything.
Yeah.
And he had said, like, later on, he said, oh, well, I wasn't going to kill her, but then she, like, fought back.
Right, yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So then he had to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the fuck?
What a douche.
So, yeah, he kills both of them.
He's not thinking this shit through.
Well, clearly.
Spending the rest of his life fucking locked up behind bars behind a stupid stunt
Just
like
this
this.
one fucking stupid thing that you did.
Stupid ass fucking stunt.
Just retarded. I don't
That
know.
had he waited a day, his shit would have passed. He probably would have had a normal life.
That's what I mean. It's like, I don't know. It's
fucking
dumb.
hilarious.
So, apparently the bodies of the parents were found by Heather's older sister, Jennifer, who, she had been out with her friends and stuff, and I guess she was coming home late. She was, like, past curfew, so she was, like, trying to sneak in the house like you do when you're a teenager and you know you're out too late. So, she sneaks past her dad, who was still on the couch, and she didn't realize he was dead. She thought he was just sleeping. And so she, like, snuck past, and she was like, wow, that was kind of easy. He didn't even wake up. And then she goes in the kitchen, and then she sees her mom, and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, so obviously she calls the cops. She's flipping the fuck out. Now, when the cops talked to her, she gave them Ron Farrell's name.
Yeah.
Because she said, hey, you know, she's like, one, Heather's gone, the sister, but she's like, but Heather hangs out with this kid named Rod, and it's like she would for real did not get kidnapped. I think she really like left of her own volition and look into this dude because he's like fucking sketchy. So the cops, so the sister, the older sister, like kind of gave them all the information they needed, and then they started looking into Rod's background, and they're like, well, obviously. Now so the 4 of them, they were in the stolen Ford Explorer, and they drove through 4 states in 4 days. In Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they ran out of money. At which point, one of the girls calls her grandmother, I guess for more money or for somewhere to stay. And the grandmother, who had been following the news, and the news were, and the news were like, she's like, come to this particular Howard Johnson's by the highway. I'll give you some money. And then she called the cops and said where they were. So good on you, Grandma.
Grandma had a one-up on him.
She did, yeah.
She figured out how she was going to fucking take care of that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So they come to the Howard Johnsons like dumbasses, thinking they're going to get all this money from Grandma, and the cops are there, and they had set a trap for them, so they all got arrested.
Arrested right there underneath that orange roof.
I know, right?
Orange and teal.
Classy. Yeah, did Howard Johnson still look like that in the 90s? I guess it did.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
They had good fried clams.
They did. I remember that. I remember that.
Remember that fried clam shit?
I remember that.
Huge fucking pile of deep fried clams.
Man,
and that
now you
tartar
make
sauce.
deep fried clams.
God dang.
We always end up starting to talk
We need to go get some deep fried clams. Go to Camp Deep.
Although, we have to say, was it 2 days ago that we had? We did a whole big shrimp boil.
I did a shrimp boil.
We have this big, huge pot that's like this big.
Yeah,
it's like 6 feet tall.
It's a man's pot.
It is. It's not 6 feet tall. It's probably like, what, 3 feet tall?
Yeah, it's probably 2.5
feet tall. 2.5 feet tall.
Yeah, it's a real pot.
So we went to Sam's, and they had like bags of 3 pounds of like big shrimp.
Yeah, the 20 count.
They weren't just like this little like shrimp.
20 count.
Yeah.
21
so,
count.
Yeah, and they were like, how much were they? $13.99?
$13 for fucking 3
for 3 pounds.
3 pounds. So I got
of like
2
big ass
pounds.
shrimp. So we got like 6 pounds of shrimp.
Pounds, yeah.
We got like fucking potatoes, little corn cobs, and everything.
Yeah.
We put it all in there with fucking crab boil.
Actually, no, I used that Old Bay.
Old Bay seasoning.
I should have used that.
We didn't have the we didn't have any. I thought we had some.
The Zatarain bags is a lot zestier. It's spicy.
It is, yeah. The Old Bay is a little
too
milder.
mild for me. It's good, but shit, man, that was a shrimp boil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was really
good. That
good.
was a shrimp boil.
We had like bowls and plates and everything.
And
like freaking, it's just big piles.
Go down there and get some more of that shrimp.
I hope it's still on sale.
We can go get some.
I love seafood.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't done it. We were gonna do a crab boil, but the crab legs were too expensive.
Yeah.
But then we saw they had the deal
Shrimp.
on shrimp. It was
Yeah,
like,
and the
I was
shrimp
like,
was-
oh, that works too.
It was cheaper than hamburger per pound.
It really
I said,
was.
we're getting that.
It was like $4.49 a pound.
Yeah.
And they, like I said, they
I
were
thought it was
big.
cheaper. I thought it was $3.
No, it was $4.49,
Okay. All right.
$4.47, something like that.
Damn.
And they were big shrimp too, and not
Yeah.
those like dinky ass little fucking.
Yeah.
They were big like.
In a
jumbo
restaurant, they'd
shrimp.
call those prawns.
Prawns. Yeah.
This is the big shrimp. I think in England, a prawn is a different thing. It's a different species. But fucking-
See, I thought that when I was over there, I thought prawn was just like interchangeable with shrimp.
Okay.
But I could be wrong about
Prawn, a real, true prawn is a different species. It's huge.
Yeah, see, I thought
It's
it
about
was
half
too.
the size of a good-sized lobster tail.
Yeah.
That's a prawn.
I'm just confused about the whole shrimp prawn thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, I feel like
They were big
they're
21
used like interchangeably.
They were
sometimes.
big 21-count prawn.
Yeah.
Or shrimp.
Yeah.
Which is 21 of them to a pound. That's
Yeah.
pretty big.
So, so they catch these four idiots. Now, to Ron Ferrell's credit, when he got arrested, he actually did plead guilty to the murders, and he said that none of the others had anything to do with it. So he did kind of like front for them.
Right.
He said, well, the girls were in the car. The other guy just watched. He didn't do anything. All this other kind of crap. Now, Ron Ferrell did actually get the death penalty, which at the time made him the youngest person, I believe, in the United States at the time to be on death row, although later his sentence was commuted to life in prison in 2000. Now, one of the other girls, even though he said that she was innocent, that she'd stayed in the car or whatever, I'm not sure if I believe that or not, she was actually convicted of 2 counts of third-degree murder, robbery with a gun or deadly weapon, and burglary armed with weapons or explosives. She got 10.5 years in state prison. The other one got the same charges. She got 17.5 years. Both of them have subsequently got out.
Yeah, one of them's around here. The cute one.
The cute one.
Cute one, yeah. There's one of
I don't
them.
remember which
She had
one's the
long
cute
black hair. She was pretty
Yeah.
cute. She's out.
Yeah.
Last I checked, and she's vanished. But she's in our area. She's around here somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Like I said, Eustace.
Nah.
He rides today Eustace on his motorcycle sometimes. Because isn't that where that bodega is where you get your hot sauce?
Yeah.
That's
now,
in Eustace.
Now, last I heard, she's kind of vanished. I
Yeah.
thought she would show up at the club, but I don't think she does. I think
I
she's-
wouldn't recognize her if she did.
I think she's totally different now. I don't think she's in the scene.
Maybe not, because
Right.
it does seem like this, one guy that was kind of like in with Rod, like back in the old days. Like, I don't think he had anything to do with the murder, but they interviewed him for the documentary and he just seemed like normal.
You're right.
Like he had kind of gotten over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ron Ferrell still in jail. Now, in what was a very controversial decision at the time, Heather, whose parents were murdered, they let her go free. She didn't get any jail time at all. Even though the whole thing was that she had asked him to kill her parents.
Yeah.
But she didn't get any
Well,
time.
and if any of you guys are out there, still, we're local to you. You can contact us. I wouldn't mind meeting you people.
Well,
He was the one that did it
if you're
all.
cool.
Well, he was the one that did it all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having him on as guests
And I do
or
feel
whatever.
like
They
it
could
was
always show up to the
probably his
club. I
idea.
don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. It does seem like a lot of people were really mad that Heather got away with it.
Yeah.
Like that they just like let her go.
She
even
was a little
though-
kid.
But yeah, well, so was he.
Yeah.
But I mean, she didn't. Yeah, maybe like I said, she had written him a letter that said, "Oh, I wish they were dead" or something like that.
She
But
didn't fucking.
a lot
ask him
of
to do
I don't
it.
think that she really
She
like
didn't mean that.
understood the gravity of the situation, and I don't really think she literally meant, "Oh, I want you to drive down here right now and kill them."
She didn't give him that okay to do that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Not based on the evidence. That
like I
saw.
said, teenagers say a lot of stupid things, and
Yeah.
I've heard of a lot of teenagers say to their parents, "Oh, I wish you would die," blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
shit like that. They don't really mean that. Like if you really died, they'd be upset.
Yeah.
They just say that because they're mad and their hormones are crazy and shit like that. He just took that shit way too seriously. So I don't know whatever ended up happening to her. Her and her sister don't talk anymore, evidently. Not surprisingly, because I guess the older sister kind of blames her for that shit. But yeah, she walked free. The other 2 girls did their prison time and they're out. One got out in 2006, one got out in 2011. The other guy who was with them, he is not due to be let out until 2032, I don't think. He will be 51 years old. So he is also still in prison. So that is the Rod Ferrell Vampire Clan case. Do you have any more to add on that?
Nah, I need to take a break though.
All right, we're gonna take a break, but not for you guys. We're just gonna put like a thing, and then but when we'll come back and talk about Richard Trenton Chase, the Vampire of Sacramento. All right, you doing okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm managing him.
You're just like maintaining.
Yeah, maintaining.
How's Dennis feeling today?
Dennis, he's looking good. Look at him.
He's looking all dapper.
Yeah.
He's always wearing that suit though.
Yeah.
Like I said, we need to get him a Santa hat. All right, so we're going to talk now, our last case of vampire killers. We're going to talk about Richard Trenton Chase, better known as the Vampire of Sacramento.
Yeah, I first read a story about this guy back in like 93 or 4. I think it was 94.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Egypt. Multinational force observers with the army enforcing that embargo on Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody loaned me a book about this case, and it was a fascinating case. It is a good case.
This dude
Chase
is crazy.
Yeah, he was fucking batshit.
Yeah.
This one was kind of understandable.
Yeah.
Because he was crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, this guy legit had some
Yeah.
really serious mental problems.
He was
clearly.
He was what do you call it? Schizophrenic.
Yeah.
He thought that his internal organs were turned into dust.
Yeah,
And
among
that
other
he would
things.
have to drink blood to keep him from dissolving.
Yeah, and like I
And
said,
that his
he really
stomach was
did,
upside down.
He
and
really did seem to believe that.
Right.
So he's kind of like James Riva in the sense that,
Right.
you know, I killed my grandma because I thought she was a vampire. This is kind of a similar situation, except this guy has like a much higher body count.
Yeah.
He really does have these delusions, and he really does seem to believe them, which, you know, like I said, it's terrible, but some people it's just...
It's a little more understandable than
than
the sexual motives, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he ran around a little 22 shooting people and drinking their blood and busted into their houses. Mm-hmm. Women, children, that was his main victim.
Yeah, he was not real discerning
No.
about... He didn't have like a victim profile per se.
No, and they wasn't sexual. Well,
well,
there may have been a couple.
I think he
that
did sodomize a couple of the victims, like the female victims.
Yeah.
So clearly there was kind of and I have to say too that one of the main things, and I think a lot of the people that have looked into his case have kind of like talked about how he was impotent. He couldn't get an erection, even like from a very young age, and he had actually like seen medical specialists about it and stuff, and they think that maybe that might have spurred some of his weird delusions because he thought, well, you know, blood to your penis makes it get hard, so
Drinking more blood.
So
you get-
making more blood will maybe make it work, because he was clearly attracted to women, but he couldn't maintain an erection,
Right.
and you know, which is a medical issue, and
Well, he
did
couldn't even
get it
maintain
seemed to-
sanity, though. I mean, this motherfucker couldn't
True,
maintain
he
sanity.
that was
I mean,
like
he was
probably
fucking-
that was probably the least of his problems, honestly.
Yeah, he was fucking crazy. He had schizophrenia pretty bad. A lot of hallucinations and delusions. That was his
Yeah, he
problem.
had like a lot of like really bad delusions. So, and he started showing signs of mental illness at a very young age. His dad apparently didn't really do anything to help him. It was, you know, it was back in the day. It's like dads were just like, oh, just man up. You know what I mean? So it's like they don't do anything.
That's the way the dads
No, I'm
work.
just saying, like
Okay.
back in the old days, and you know what I mean? And
This
I
was
was
70s, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I was even
Yeah.
like watching a documentary about him, and even, you know, a couple of the psychiatrists on there said, you know, yeah, he probably got beat by his dad and stuff like that, but a lot of kids did, because that's just what you did back then, because they thought that was how you discipline them,
Right.
other than how you like mentally scar them for life, but you know what I mean. So the dad is kind of like abusive. He's very strict. Didn't really, you know, he knew that there was maybe something wrong with him, but he thought maybe he could beat it out of him or something like that. So so Richard Chase, he displayed what they call the McDonald triad, which a lot of serial killers have. That is arson, setting small fires, bedwetting, and cruelty to animals. That is something that many serial killers have. That, like I said, it's so common that they have a name for it. It's called the McDonald triad. And if you have those 3 things when you're a kid, it doesn't mean you're going to become a serial killer, but it is like a benchmark of like sociopathy and like you might have problems later on. And he did have all 3 of those things. So apparently when he was a teenager, even though like he went to school and he was like fairly normal, like he was a little bit quirky, but not so bad that like other people picked on him and stuff. Like he had a fairly normal childhood, fairly normal like school life and shit like that. But later on, he started getting into drugs, particularly marijuana, acid, stuff like that, which a lot of people were at the time. His dad kicked him out of the house. So he starts getting more into drugs, starts drinking a lot. And I feel like he probably had a lot of really severe mental illness anyway. And then the drugs and alcohol just made it worse. And like I said, even this documentary I was watching about him where they had like all these psychiatrists on there talking about him, they said, look, that if you don't already have some underlying mental illness, like taking acid and stuff, despite what like all the fucking scaremongering films back then would tell you, it's like that's not going to make you like go cut people's heads off or so unless you already have something wrong with you. They're like, if you already have something wrong with you and then you go and do drugs and like drink too much and shit like that, yeah, that might make it worse.
Yeah. Well,
but if it's just drugs, it's not going to do that by itself.
My experience, almost all those drugs are fucking worthless. Okay? But a couple hits of acid can sometimes sort a motherfucker out. It really can. Almost kind of like electroshock therapy. But that's not something that you abuse.
Yeah.
That's something you do maybe like, well, shit. I wouldn't do it more than once a year.
That's it's kind of like a
once every 5 or 6 years.
Once in a while kind of treat.
Right.
You know, and that's how I see it.
Now, Joe Rogan says MDMA is even better. I've never tried it.
I've never done that.
But if it's anything like good quality LSD, then he's probably telling the truth. Of course, you know, I had an inside on damn LSD back in the day.
Yeah.
Through the universities. I'm not going to talk about my best friends who are biochemists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? But fucking,
he's hooked up.
Yeah, I was hooked up back in the day. I could get the best.
Get the good shit.
I could get the good shit. It was free.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't selling. We were just here. You know what I mean?
Well, you just had it and you
try this.
You know.
You know. And that's something you can use, but you don't abuse it. You got to be fucking Native American about that shit. You're walking. You're in the spirit world.
Yeah.
You got to respect that shit. And then you come back fucking, you know, a wiser and stronger man.
Well, see, that's what I always kind of liked about those types of particular drugs is that it's not so like if you do it all the time, it would ruin the experience. It's like it seems like you just only want to do it every now and then.
What's my understanding?
For some particular insight or like some kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what the shaman would do in the tribe.
That's what I mean.
They're like, well, okay, we gotta have a vision.
I enjoy it for that reason.
We gotta have a vision. Go put the fucking teepee up there. I need some steam and a bunch of heat. We're gonna go in there and have a vision. You know what I mean? They would take some crazy shit and they would solve the tribe's problems. You know what I mean? That's what that shit was for. But you know, it's my understanding based on dudes that abused it, what happens is that the more you take it, the less of effect it has. You kind of
I can see that.
You build up a resistance.
Yeah.
And then if you stay in LSD land for too long, you actually start becoming a worthless motherfucker, really more than anything else, and you amount to nothing. Because
to me,
you're just like a bum.
It doesn't seem like...
It's not something you want to overdo.
It doesn't even seem like the kind of drug you'd want to overdo.
No.
Like, I can see why people would abuse heroin or cocaine or something like that. But acid, not so much. I don't know why you'd want to do that every day.
My fucking black buddies were scared to death of LSD. They'd like coke, but they didn't. They were scared to death of LSD.
Why?
I don't know. It was something about it that in African American culture it scared the shit out of them. But there were a couple of them that I knew that did take it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you know what I mean." It's something you have to kind of release yourself.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of deal.
It's a different kind of experience then.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna recommend it to black people. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. There's a certain angle that it comes at you at a certain angle that sometimes that can unleash enlightenment in certain kind of people.
If you approach it in a particular way.
Yeah, it has to be scientific and religious.
You have to come at it like
it's a religious experience.
I wouldn't even say religious, but you have to come at it as looking for insight or looking for some kind of don't come at it with anything negative. Don't do that because that'll fuck that shit up.
And don't go in public.
Yeah.
No, at home.
Big time.
At home, under supervision.
And also take the next day off work.
Yeah.
Learn from my mistakes.
You're gonna have a fucking hangover.
It's not. I wouldn't even call it a hangover. It was because I've had many hangovers.
It's like an ordeal. Tired, very tired.
Oh, I don't think I've ever been that tired before in my whole entire life. I can't believe I worked an entire shift the following day after that. I don't know how I survived.
MDMA and ayahuasca are supposed to be even better.
Yeah.
To get ayahuasca, you got to go to Central America, and the shamans can give it to you. I would fucking love to try it.
Although
they say it makes you
there's too much vomiting involved.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
They say it makes you very sick, but you come back with a different. Well, just go on YouTube and search up fucking Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's done whole shows on ayahuasca.
I've always been kind of curious about it, but like I said, the vomiting puts me off. You know what I mean?
Well, there's certain kind of knowledge that might, you know what I mean, that there are certain kind of experiences that we're
I don't like feeling nauseated.
It might be worth it. I don't have any problem throwing up.
I know you don't.
I'll throw up in a heartbeat.
I don't like feeling like I'm going to throw up,
though. I throw up like a man. I'll just fucking back up.
Well, the funny thing about it is that...
Back up.
He's very calm about it.
Very calm about it.
He'll just be like, well, I'm going to throw up. But he can, wait until... You know what I mean? Whereas, I'd be, barfing down the side of the car
I'm going to throw up. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
Back up. Put up.
Everyone move aside.
Put up the yellow tape. Okay.
Yeah, he can,
Yeah.
hold it off. You know
hold it off, right.
Until he can get somewhere where it's appropriate.
It's discipline.
Where he can get somewhere where it's
discipline.
Appropriate.
That's right.
I can sometimes do that, but not always.
Discipline.
I don't barf a lot from drinking anymore.
Yeah.
Probably because my liver is just giving up at this point.
No, you don't drink that much.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. I'm exaggerating. But yeah, so as I was saying, I do feel like even though, Richard Chase, he was on all the drugs and everything like that, but I don't think it was the drugs that caused him to. I think he was already like that.
Hiccuping now.
And then, I see that. I think he was already like that, and then because he was already like that, he started abusing drugs, and that made his mental illness worse.
He was already crazy.
He was already crazy. Like I said, he already had all that shit going on from when he was a kid. He was already hurting animals. He was already doing that shit. Yeah. Also, when he got a little bit older, he started getting, like you mentioned, all of these weird delusions. He thought that he had already died, and he was just walking around like he was a zombie or something like that. He had the impression that his heart had stopped, that he was just walking around with no heartbeat. He thought that he wasn't getting enough vitamin C for whatever reason. So he would take, an orange, a whole orange, and he would push it into his head. And he would say oh, well, the brain's going to absorb the nutrients.
Right. Yeah.
By osmosis or whatever. Yeah. He thought that, I think you said this before, but he thought that his skull was breaking up into pieces and moving around puzzle pieces inside of his head. Yeah. He thought his stomach was upside down.
Yeah.
Because of the whole thing that he thought with his skull, that's why he shaved his head at one point, because he wanted to watch that shit, where all the skull pieces were going. He wanted to make sure that they were going to the appropriate place or something like that. This guy clearly, like I said, he had some issues.
He had some weird ass body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Fucking.
It's weird because I see there's pictures of him and he looks like fucking young Peter Murphy.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like young hot Peter Murphy, except mixed with old meth addicted Peter Murphy.
If he was in good mental shape, he would have been a good looking guy.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah,
he was so fucking crazy. It's hard to maintain an attractive appearance because your diet's fucked up, your grooming habits are fucked up.
Yeah.
He looked like he was a sweaty motherfucker, too.
He did look
like
very
he was
sweaty.
constantly sweaty and not taking a shower.
And greasy.
Yeah, like a non-showering motherfucker.
Well, like I said,
But,
certain types of mental illness will do,
right.
and particularly, like you said, ones that focus so much on these types of body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Where he thought something was like going wrong with his body all the time.
Yeah.
And as I said, he also had a lot of issues, and a lot of like documentaries bring this up, that he had a lot of issues with erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
When he was young, like a teenager, like in his early 20s, like he would try to date women because he was clearly very attracted to women, but then like he couldn't like perform sexually. He couldn't I guess he could get an erection, but he couldn't maintain it like long enough.
Most of it's psychological.
Well, yeah, that's why
Stress related.
he ended up going to a psychiatrist because apparently he thought the same thing. Like he thought that there was something the matter that was like causing. But I think as that went on, like he did get some treatment for it. But I think as it went on, he started developing this delusion that I need extra blood,
Right.
like for dick hardening purposes. I guess that's kind of that. You know, that might be speculation, but I do think that that's kind of like might be
He's
where
trying
he
to
was coming
come up
from.
with
A
some
little
kind
bit.
of explanation for it.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Fucking, it's all mental and psychological. I mean, all you got to do is just put a woman on a man, and if she just stares disapprovingly at the motherfucker, he's not going to be able to rock up.
That is just going to wilt away.
It's just going to wilt it away. So, it's just, his state of mind was bad.
It's a very delicate balance. It's
Yeah.
a very delicate balance.
Yeah, for a dude to rock up, he's just got to be totally lost in it, and he don't give a shit. And he's not even thinking about it. It's automatic. But if he starts thinking about it too much or worrying about it, then he won't do it. And that's a lot of it there. But some guys, you know, when they get to a certain age, of course, they have, you know, neurological problems or problems with fucking, you know what I mean? Diabetes evidently can do it. There's a lot of different things that can, you know, affect a man's capillaries because, you know, it has to do with fucking blood flow.
Yeah.
Blood flow and psychology.
Yeah, combination of
So,
those two things. I mean, you know, and psychology plays a large part in women's arousal also.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know, it's obviously not, I'm not going to say it's not as big a problem. It's just not.
Not as apparent.
It's not as apparent.
Right.
That's the word I was looking for.
Right.
Just because, you know, even if you're like...
It's noticeable if a motherfucker's not rocked up.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a woman could just kind of lay there and be like,
Right.
whatever, okay, I'm not into this, but okay. But you know what I mean? So, and like nothing happens, but yeah. So it's kind of like more pressure on men on the other end.
Yeah.
So Richard Chase is 25 years old. And as I said, he started going to a psychiatrist for his erectile dysfunction, among other things, and all his body dysmorphia problems. And he got diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and he was institutionalized in 1975 because they did think that he might be a danger to himself and others.
Hell yeah, that motherfucker's paranoid schizophrenic fucking...
Which was clearly the correct
having read that
synopsis,
book,
yes.
having read the book of everything that he said and the kind of shit that he did, schizophrenic like a motherfucker. You just can't expect any sense out of this guy.
Yeah.
And his MO doesn't make any really...
And I'm telling you, I'll tell you something right now, and it's like, a long time ago, I saw a documentary about schizophrenia, and they talked to like a bunch of people that had it. And a lot of people that had it were like, they were pretty normal, like when you talk to them and stuff like that. But it scared me because schizophrenia is something that it can kind of like, it mostly strikes at a younger age, like late teenage, early 20s, but it can strike anyone, anywhere. You don't have to have a genetic predilection for it necessarily. You don't have to, doesn't necessarily have to run in your family. It can strike anytime. And the fact that these people were just like living a normal life, and then all of a sudden they just started developing these bizarre like fucking, and there was nothing they could do about it. And the scary thing about it, that this is what scared me the most in this documentary, was that the people they were talking to, they knew.
Yeah.
They knew that it was crazy, but they couldn't help it. And it was like really like heartbreaking to watch it, because they were just like, look, I know like all this stuff, but it's like when it overtook them, there was like nothing they could do about it.
Yeah.
And that like really, really scared me. I'm like, oh my God, that seems like, it seems like one of the worst things that could happen to you.
Consciousness is a fucking tricky thing.
It is.
Okay.
That freaks me out.
Yeah.
It freaks me out.
Your consciousness can be altered by little small fucking changes.
Yeah.
And you can start thinking some crazy shit.
And I mean, I don't even like the idea that I perceived, like, even something minor. I don't even like the idea that I perceived something minor incorrectly.
Yeah.
That, like, freaks me out. You know what I mean? Like, look, okay, here's an example. So we came home from the movies after we saw Zombieland. And we had got some food, like, we'd picked up some food and stuff. So we come home, and we open the front door, and our cat, Beijing, she wants to go outside. She likes to run out the front door. She doesn't go anywhere. She just lays on the front porch. So she went out, and she laid on the front porch. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had my hands full. I had all the food and stuff like that. So I closed the door. I see her out there on the porch. So then Tom goes and does whatever. I go to the bathroom. I go and, like, put all the food down. I put, like, take my shoes off or whatever. Then we're all sitting on the bed watching Creep Show. We're, like, eating the burgers. Then all of a sudden, Beijing runs through our room and runs to the back sliding glass door like she wants to go outside again. Tom's like, how did she get back
in the house? Right, yeah.
We just let her out. And I'm like, yeah, she went out.
I get the flashlight. I walk the perimeter.
We thought someone was in the house that let our cat in. Because how the fuck did she get back in?
I checked the house. I'm going, is it Blowst happen or something? You know what I mean? Is this Blowst again?
Can our cat teleport?
Yeah. So I get...
She was outside.
So I check the inside and I check the outside.
He checks all the windows. It's the garage, the attic, everything.
And I'm like, it's all buttoned up. There's no way she could have gotten back in. But then I just had to accept that maybe I was walking by that door and saw her and she wanted back in. I let her back in and didn't remember.
But it bothered me because I thought to myself, look, I remember that she ran out because I had my hands full and I closed the door and I saw her sitting on the porch. And then I went to the bathroom or whatever. And it's like, I know I saw that. But it scares me to think that maybe I didn't see that.
Well, Blowst hasn't happened in a long time. And that's not something that the Blowst would do. I think what it is I saw her at the door.
And maybe you just let her in.
And I let her back in without thinking about it.
I can't think of any other nonsense.
See, we have a glass door. Our door's glass.
Yeah.
So she can go up to the door and just see this little fucking cat head.
She just like peeks in through like, hey, can I come in now? Please?
She must have asked to come back in and I just didn't remember.
And you just didn't remember?
Because I do certain things just unconsciously. Like you're on autopilot.
Like I said, that's the only explanation.
Especially if I have my tablet in my hand and I might have been doing something with my tablet at the time, you know what I mean? And I walked by there and
just saw her little
saw
face.
Saw the cat looking in and I was like, well, I'll let her come in.
I was like thinking about that all that night.
I have no idea.
I'm like, am I crazy? Because I'm sure she ran outside and I saw her sitting out on the porch. I saw it.
That's the only thing I can think of.
And then later she was back in the house and I can't figure out how she got back in. So, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if imagine that, but like multiplied 1,000 times, your whole life was like that.
Yeah.
Like you just weren't sure what the fuck was happening, what the fuck was real. It's like
paranoid schizophrenic thinks everybody's after them too.
So everything, a lot.
Everything they do, everything they see, it's about them and people doing things at them, and so
that's what I mean. So I have a lot of sympathy for people that have it because I know that it just like strikes out of the blue and it seems like a terrifying.
Yeah.
And it seemed terrifying to the people that had it too because they knew that they had it.
Yeah.
And, like, that seemed really scary.
Well, Chase was a fucking nut. He didn't know what was true.
That's true.
And that's what drove him to do what he did. I don't even think we've gotten into what he's done, what he did yet.
So, yeah, he just got institutionalized. This is 1975. Now, he was so fascinated with blood that all the other inmates at the institution nicknamed him Dracula. He also, while he was in there, he tried to, like, get a bunch of birds. Like he would catch birds like outside the window of his cell and like try to drink their blood and shit. Yeah. He also he thought that he was being poisoned and that the poison was turning his blood into powder, and that's why he had to drink the bird's blood because he thought that would like liquefy his blood again.
He thought his blood was turning into powder, and he thought all of his internal organs were turning into dust too.
Yeah. I mean, before he was institutionalized, he would also, like, inject himself with rabbit blood.
Yeah.
Which made him sick, not surprisingly.
Of course.
Yeah. So, now he was in the institution for a little while, and this is another case where they thought that he was okay. They thought they had rehabilitated. He's fine now. So, they let him out. Now, he was released to go live with his mother. But since he was, over 18, he wasn't a minor or anything like that. So they said, you have to go live with your mother, but there was no law like making him stay there, right? So he actually moved out because he thought that his mother was poisoning him.
Yeah.
So he moved into an apartment with a bunch of dudes that, like, friends of his. Now, they didn't know him all that well. You know, I guess they were just, like, acquaintances or whatever. And they all kind of started to get a little bit upset because he, one, he was on drugs, all the drugs, pretty much all the time. He had, like, weird habits, like he would, like, walk around naked all the time. He was always fucking high on something or other. So finally they just all got sick of it and they told him to leave. But he wouldn't go. So the roommates said, okay, well then we'll leave. So they all just left him there by himself because they couldn't handle his ass anymore. Because apparently he was doing some crazy shit.
Yeah, around this time he started getting into Nazis and he started getting into guns too. He started to kind of make some kind of connection between blood and Nazis and the occult and guns, and he started to kind of like...
Well, I think that's a pretty common symptom of schizophrenia where they make all these kind of connections.
Weird connections.
That aren't necessarily there in real life.
He thought he was a Nazi vampire. That's really what this fucking
Christian zombie vampire?
Christian zombie vampire. Thought he was a Nazi vampire.
Yeah.
And that the Nazis knew what they were doing and they wanted blood too. That kind of weird shit. And I don't remember what kind of... He got a pistol. I think it might have been a Ruger 22. A Ruger 22 target pistol, which looked a lot like a Luger.
Yeah.
So he kind of, which... He associated the Lugers with Nazis. That's how I remember it. It's been a long time ago.
Serial killers and Nazis, man.
Yeah. So he was going to go out and fucking shoot people with his fake Luger, which is actually just a Ruger 22 target pistol, and get blood to keep his Nazi soul alive. Fucking weird.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, he thought his fucking blood was powder.
Yeah.
And then he had to, like, drink...
They said he really liked the pictures of, like, fucking concentration camps with all the piles of the bodies and stuff, that he was big into that.
That's messed up.
This is in the 70s, of course, you know what I mean? Fucking in California, if I remember correctly, right? California?
I believe so, yeah.
And, this is fucking hippieville at that time,
Was
You
just
can't run around. He was running around in an army jacket with a Ruger 22, fucking...
Well, even now, people would look askance at you.
Trying to be a Nazi vampire. Yeah.
Come on, now.
Yeah. Like something out of that
Let's
damn...
tone that down.
What was that in the movie that we saw the other day? Fucking with the fake Nazis in World War II, the fake Nazi vampire zombies.
What, Overlord?
Or Overlord.
That was a long
just like
time ago
something
we saw
out
that.
Overlord. How long ago was that we saw that?
Several months ago.
Okay, yeah. Like something out of
Actually,
Overlord.
maybe almost a year ago.
Almost
might have
a
been.
year ago?
It
Yeah.
seemed like a long time ago.
Yeah, he thought he was an Overlord.
I guess so. Or Castle Wolfenstein
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So now he's living alone once again, which it's never good for him apparently to like be alone because he just gets into more drinking and more drugs and he just gets like wrapped up in his delusions. So he starts getting back into this whole my blood is powder, I really needed to like drink blood. So he starts like catching and killing little animals. He would either eat them raw or he would take their organs out and put them in a blender with soda and blend the whole concoction together and drink it like a fucking smoothie.
Yeah. Now this is a sign of fucking insanity, okay? Not even
No, you don't say.
Not even serial killers did this stupid shit.
Fuck.
A serial killer would know that wouldn't work. This guy here this is schizophrenia. He's trying to absorb their nutrients to keep his fucking internal organs together. It's just
he's
like
killing like bunnies and kitties and shit, you guys.
It's like body dysmorphia.
And putting their like livers and shit in the blender.
Yeah, and drink
with Coke or RC Cola or whatever his preferred soda was. I'm not really sure. And you just blend and make it
California
like a fucking...
in those days, I'll tell you what it was. It was White Rock.
Oh, yeah, okay.
White Rock soda.
Yeah.
I loved it. Had a little fucking...
We didn't have it here, but I've heard of it.
A little pixie with fucking four wings drinking out of the water
yeah,
and shit.
I've seen the label. It's kind of a famous label.
Yeah, yeah. It was good. I liked it. It had a bunch of different
What
flavors.
Yeah, like what flavor was the main? Was it just cola or?
No, the main flavor was kind of like a 7-Up.
Oh, okay.
That was like that's the one I remembered mostly. But then they had root beer, I think, and they had like grape, and they had a cola, and they had like a ginger ale.
Oh, okay.
They had everything.
Yeah, I don't think we had them over here on the East Coast,
White
or
Rock.
at least not in Florida. But
White
I have
Rock
heard
was
of it,
California 70s
and I've
as
seen
shit.
I've sseen the labels because, like I said, I think the labels are fairly famous.
Yeah, and it came in glass bottles, and the quality was good. And I remember it as a child in California, we just fucking loved it, and it wasn't expensive.
I don't think
It was
we did
about
that.
kind of like in the Michigan area they have Faygo,
Yeah,
okay, which is like a local
yeah.
cola soft drink.
Although
company.
they sell that pretty much everywhere.
They
now.
sell it everywhere now, but in California in the 70s, the local soda was fucking White Rock.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was good.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of
It
stories.
was like
about
the most popular flavor that I remember was like a lemon lime, which would have been like a
7-Up,
like
or
a 7-Up
Sprite.
or a
Yeah.
Sprite. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was good.
I was partial to New York seltzer myself.
It was good shit.
The black cherry flavor. So, in August of 1977, the Nevada police find Richard Chase one night hanging out in the Lake Tahoe area. He is completely naked, sitting on a rock, like you do, completely covered with blood. They also found his truck that he had driven there, like a pickup truck. And in the back of the pickup truck was a bucket, and it had a liver in it. So, this looks kind of bad, you know?
Yeah.
So, the cops arrested him. Now, initially, Richard Chase said that the blood was his and that it had, quote, seeped out of him.
Right.
However, later on, they determined that both the blood and the liver belonged to a cow.
Yeah.
So, since that's
That's
technically
legal.
not illegal,
Yeah.
they let him go. Now, at this point, like I said, he was living alone. He was apparently doing a lot of drugs, drinking, whatever. When he was alone and doing all this stuff, it seemed to like exacerbate his mental illness. And this seems to be one of the final things that kind of pushed him into serial killer mode. So it's a few days after Christmas of 1977. Apparently, Richard Chase was very angry that his mother had not allowed him to come home for Christmas because apparently she, didn't want him in the house, understandably.
Motherfucker was dirty. Didn't want him in the house.
Yeah, so he was very lonely. He was very frustrated. So he decided to take it out on just random members of the public. Now, the first victim of Richard Chase was Ambrose Griffin, who was a 51-year-old man. He was just out in his driveway helping his wife bring in groceries from the car. And Richard Chase essentially just did a drive-by. He just drove by, pulled out a .22 caliber pistol, and shot the guy in the chest.
That's when I was telling you about that 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like a random... He just picked him at random and just like no reason.
He's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So, a little less than a month later, January 23rd, 1978. Richard Chase busts into the home. Well, he didn't even bust in. The door was unlocked. He just walked into the home of a woman named Teresa Wallen, who was pregnant. Her front door was unlocked. He would later say that he felt that the people that he killed deserved it because their doors were not locked.
Yeah.
Like, it was like an invitation
Right.
to him. Like, that's how
It's like an
he felt.
invitation for the vampire to come in.
To come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that old trope about how you
Right.
have to invite the vampire in and then they can do whatever you want. Yeah. It's like
And this gun we're talking
he was
about,
feeling that.
this gun we're talking about for you gun nuts out there, I think it's like with the Ruger Mark III. The one that looked like the Luger. It didn't even have the heavy barrel. It had the tapered barrel. I saw pictures of it. You know what I'm talking about. Go ahead. Blued. It was blued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he walks into this pregnant woman's house, shoots her 3 times with that .22,
Yeah.
then stabbed her with a butcher knife, then cut out her organs
Yeah.
and drank her blood, allegedly using a yogurt container
Yogurt cup.
to scoop the blood up.
Got that shit out of the garbage can. Out of her garbage can.
Because he's a classy motherfucker
Yeah.
like that, I guess.
he was
What do you
putting-
think about, like, Dennis? He
Yeah.
is, like, not commented about
Well,
that.
you have to understand that, he's fucking crazy.
You just have to, like, use
Yeah,
what you
he's
find at the
fucking crazy.
scene. Didn't you do that, too, though?
Jenny, you have to understand something. His motives are totally inappropriate.
Okay.
Blood has no significance in any of this. Okay. We know that it's the pussy. And he doesn't know anything about that, Jenny. He doesn't really know anything about it.
Okay.
He's just trying to drink blood. And
Well, this is your area
This
of
is terrible.
expertise,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
he's wasting it. He's just wasting it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Okay.
He's always so helpful.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
these
Dennis
guys.
is telling us fucking the serial killer angle.
Yeah.
Chase is fucking crazy, all right?
Yeah. I
He's
mean,
just fucking
clearly,
crazy.
he is...
He just wants the blood. He shot her up, and then he went into the fucking little wastebasket that she had in her kitchen.
Yeah.
And he found a fucking empty
Just
yogurt,
an empty yogurt cup, yeah.
and he put that inside of her abdomen, was scooping up
Yeah,
the fucking
scooping the
blood
blood
out of her abdomen, because he cut a slice through her abdomen to
Yep.
get down into her, and he's trying to get some blood out of her that way. And they found little blood rings, the cops did, where he was setting that cup down in between drinks. You know. And
See, it's little details like that.
yeah,
that
and he
just-
couldn't have gotten too much, because there's not a lot of blood down the abdomen. It's all inside a person's veins,
Yeah.
and you need a beating heart to get it out of the veins. So he doesn't really know what he's doing. You know what I mean? If you want to drain a person of blood, they better be alive, so they can pump the fucking blood out, or
Well-
you need a pump to pump it out. You know.
Interestingly, like, this was the 1970s, so they hadn't really like codified a lot of the
Yeah.
serial killer archetypes, I guess would be the word for it, like the profiling and whatnot.
Yeah.
But nowadays we would call this a disorganized
Disorganized killer.
because clearly he just wanted the blood. He didn't
Yeah.
really care about what kind of mess
No.
he made. He didn't really care about, I mean, he was basically just walking to random people's house. He wasn't casing the joint. He wasn't doing anything like that. He was just like looking for an unlocked front. He just wanted blood. That's it.
Yeah, and he was walking around in damn jeans and a big old fucking second-hand Vietnam Army jacket, OD green, with this pistol fucking shoved in his damn fucking in his waistband. He's sticking out like a sore thumb. We're not talking about a criminal mastermind.
Yeah,
He's an idiot.
like I said,
And
he
he'll-
wasn't.
No. And he was walking up to people's back doors. That's how he got in, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
This is years ago. He walked up to her back door and got in.
Well, he just was trying doors until he
Yeah.
found one that was unlocked. Pretty much.
But he wasn't going through the front. He was going through the back.
Yeah.
Which is, if you look at, you can just Google any random place around Long Beach, California, and see how these houses are situated. You got to walk down a street, go into their driveway, get behind, open a gate usually, get behind the house,
Yeah.
and fucking walk up another set of stairs and get in the back. It looked like Bela Lugosi's house out of The Old Man.
Yeah.
The
Playing Knife from Outer
Old
Space.
Man. Yeah. And the Old Man, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't think you know they don't know what I'm talking about, Jenny. But
Everyone's seen Blaine. Come on,
Yeah.
it's Plain Knife from Outer Space.
Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's like some shit from that. He's just walking up the steps and walking into the damn house. And after he did that, the baby was in the fucking baby.
Well,
was
this
in,
was the next case.
is in the next case. Okay,
I mean, this woman was
all right.
pregnant.
Later on, he gets another woman. She's got a baby.
Yeah.
He drinks it. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm getting to that
All right.
right.
I don't want to tease it too much.
Yeah,
'Cause he's into babies too.
this actually, well, like I said, he was indiscriminate.
He was just looking for blood.
This actually only happened like 4 days after he killed the pregnant woman.
Mm-hmm.
So January 27th, 1978. So he goes to the house of Evelyn Miroth. I guess I'm pronouncing that right. Her door was unlocked. Now, she was in the house. She also had a 6-year-old son named Jason. She had a 22-month-old son, or nephew rather, named David Ferreira. And also a friend there whose name was Dan Meredith. Now, Chase just walks in the door, which was unlocked. He shot Dan Meredith in the hallway. He just shot him in the head. Then stole his car keys. Now, also, so Evelyn and Jason, the 6-year-old, were found in Evelyn's bedroom. Little boy had been shot twice in the head.
Yeah.
Evelyn had been killed and partially eaten.
Yeah.
Her stomach was cut open. Several organs were missing.
Yeah.
He had also apparently attempted to remove one of her eyes, but had not been successful. He had also sodomized her corpse.
Yeah.
Now, the baby, David, who was 22 months old, was missing. Evelyn had been babysitting him. It was her nephew. Now, the child was not found for several months. They looked for him for several months, hoping that he was still alive. However,
No, they found him in a cardboard box.
they found him
Yeah.
behind a church,
Yeah.
and he had been decapitated.
Yeah, and he was
A baby.
I
He
remember-
decapitated a baby.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he was in a cardboard box. Had been in a cardboard box for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So special. Now later on,
I don't hold this motherfucker fully responsible.
Well,
for what
because
he's
he
doing,
was
though. He's
clearly
fucking crazy.
insane.
You're right. Yeah.
Now,
Which is kind of different from your average serial killer. Your average serial killer does not have schizophrenia. They know what's real. The average serial killer is doing this shit for fucking basically it's for sexual motives.
yeah.
You know, this guy, nah, not really. He doesn't know what's real. He thinks he's a fucking vampire.
Obviously,
Basically.
like I said, he really does seem to believe that.
Yeah. He thinks he's gonna die if he doesn't do this.
Which, like I said, it doesn't excuse it, but
No, he's fucking crazy.
He can't help it.
He's got to be
though.
locked up.
He can't help it.
No,
but
can't
he
have it.
shouldn't be allowed to run around.
No.
Loose, obviously.
No, he's not innocent.
Right.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was that they identified Richard Chase as the perpetrator because he had left fingerprints in the blood at this particular crime scene. So they were able to track him back to his apartment. They searched his apartment and they found that all the utensils in his apartment were stained with blood. And also in his refrigerator they found human brains.
Yeah.
So that's a little incriminating.
Yeah.
So he got arrested.
Yep.
Now, his trial began in January of 1979 and lasted 5 months. The defense tried to argue that he shouldn't get the death penalty because he was insane, so he was not guilty by reason of insanity. However, the jury didn't really
Didn't
get
a shit.
on board with
Yeah.
that. So he was actually found guilty of 6 counts of murder and sentenced to death in the gas chamber. Now, apparently when he was in prison, the other inmates were terrified of him and apparently often encouraged him to kill himself. And eventually, he took them up on it. So what he did was they gave him anti-anxiety medication for all of the various psychiatric disorders that he had. So he kept stockpiling them until he had enough that he thought would overdose, like that would kill him. So he ended up taking them, and they found him dead in his jail cell the day after Christmas of 1980. So, Richard Chase, yeah,
It's
that
funny-
was one disturbed motherfucker.
It's funny that they were afraid of him in prison because he didn't weigh anything. We're talking about
Well,
maybe
yeah,
150
but
140-pound guy, 155 pound.
psychosis counts for a
He's just
lot.
fucking nuts, I guess.
I mean, because how many people would like take the organs out of like a little kitty or a bunny rabbit and put it in a fucking blender with soda and drink it, and or decapitate a baby?
yeah,
Like, not, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
there's some bad motherfuckers in prison,
yeah.
but there's a line, man. There's like the,
He was,
you know what I mean?
He was mentally ill, though. I mean,
That's what I mean. So you never
he-
knew exactly what he was
Yeah.
gonna do. So I'd be fucking scared of his ass too.
he didn't really have the physical power to do anything, though. I mean, the shit that he did was because he had a gun. I mean, he
Yeah,
would
true.
shoot them before he did all this.
Mostly.
He was.
And then eat their
I
organs.
saw photographs of him. You know, in his prime.
He's a very scrawny fella.
This dude is not a physical threat. He's with a 22. Then you know, especially with stealth, he's just walking up on you unannounced. I mean, you know, usually let's say you're a criminal, okay,
Yeah. Okay.
and you're in the criminal game, all right, and you're doing shit, all right, and the organization you work for decides that you gotta go. You know they're coming. You can fucking kind of prepare yourself for the attack. That's not really the deal with Chase. With Chase's victims had no idea anything was going on. They'd be in there making oatmeal.
That's what I mean.
And
They
he
were just
just
doing
walk
normal
in,
shit.
making oatmeal for the baby.
And then just skinny
And
weirdo
this
would
dude
walk
just
into
walks
their
in
house.
and goes, pop, 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 starts shooting.
and would
you.
just shoot you and then like start
With-
eating your organs.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Who
And-
the fuck thinks that's gonna happen?
And
to
a
them?
22 pistol's not a combat pistol. It's a glorified fucking BB gun. It's a little pop gun, you know? But enough hits in the right spot will fucking kill you.
Well,
and that's
obviously.
what, you know. And so will a fucking air rifle or anything else. But, you know, it's just... But so will fists, and so will hammers, and so will... The deadliest fucking thing on the fucking planet in the United States actually is a fucking baseball bat. A baseball bat will fucking knock it. You don't need sound suppression. You don't need anything like that. It's just blunt force trauma.
Well, that's one thing I always really like about horror movies. Every time I see like a woman in a horror movie and she pulls the baseball bat out from under the bed,
that's about the best thing.
That chick knows the score.
Yeah.
That knows the score. She knows.
Yeah, because a baseball bat, even to an elbow or a shoulder or a knee, that's a game changer. Blunt force trauma.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's that seems like the best. And honestly, this is very instructive that the single time in my life so far that I experienced night terrors, like where I woke up and thought I was, that I was dreaming, but I thought I was awake, was I dreamed, this is when I lived by myself in that apartment, and I woke up and the dude that was standing in my bedroom door had a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So
that's a bad weapon.
I would really not like to be beaten to death.
When I was in school, I took fencing. I can fence. I don't know if you even know that.
But no, you never told me that.
No, I can fence with a foil. But a foil doesn't have good stopping power. It's just penetration. All right. I wouldn't even pick up a katana, really, if I wanted.
Although you could like whip somebody's arm or head off. That might be cool.
It is a good dissector.
Now
I'd have to fucking practice with a katana.
I'm going with Michonne on that. Like if it was a zombie apocalypse, I would want a katana.
When it comes to household implements, if I couldn't have a bat, from the things that I've held in my hands when it comes to fucking combat or self-defense, from fucking just things you can find around a house, the best weapon I've been able to find in my own house, really, would be a rubber body, auto body mallet.
That's what I would want.
A rubber mallet.
That's what I would want.
It's light. It hits hard. It will not stick inside of an opponent.
Inside of a wound, yeah.
And it hits hard.
That's what I mean. You got to think about this shit.
A rubber mallet.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, not even the fucking metal ones.
Yeah, not so good. Especially not the claw end.
No.
Because that'll stick and then you're like...
Rubber mallet is light. And a blow to anywhere in the head or anywhere on the skeleton, you can tell that's an effective...
Or the dick.
Or the dick. You hit a motherfucker in the dick with a damn rubber mallet. You know what I mean? You can swing it fast.
That's the first thing I would go for.
Right.
Fair warning.
If I didn't have a gun or a bat, it would be a rubber fucking bodywork mallet for hammering.
I would agree with you.
Hammering out fucking body panels.
Honestly,
on a car.
in zombie apocalypse, I'll have a katana in one hand and a rubber mallet in the other.
Yeah.
Because guns run out of bullets, man.
Yeah.
You got to find ammo. It's not practical.
Yeah.
Katana never runs out of bullets.
Yeah.
Rubber mallet never runs out of never runs out of bullets.
Right.
Also, the nice thing about the katana, like I said, is that you can like swing it and you can behead like a bunch of people at one time.
Katana has a long reach.
I like that. That's what I mean.
It has a long reach. And if it's sharp, it can go through limbs.
Yeah.
It may not have stopping power, but it has penetration.
Right.
So you can remove an offending...
It's very practical in that type, in a melee type situation.
Right. Now, the thing is it's big, it's long. If you're in a confined area, I'd rather take that. I'd rather take that rubber body.
Well, that's why that would be in the other hand, because then you could switch out, like depending on which situation.
Well, like on The Walking Dead, you had Tyrone. What's his name? Was Tyrone? He had that fucking hammer.
Yeah.
Was his name Tyrone?
I think it was.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen that season.
But a rubber mallet would have been even better.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're going for, like, head kills.
Yeah, well, it won't go through the skull.
Yeah.
It'll bounce off the skull, but that's still a fucking heavy fucking blow.
Yeah.
Bonk! So it won't get stuck in there. And it's light. You can swing it fast.
Well, and once the zombie's on the ground, you can just, like, step on their head or whatever. Because their skulls are kind of, like,
rotted.
If
it's against people, you know.
So,
Yeah, but fuck Chase. That's the story of Chase.
Like I said...
He is a serial killer, but he was kind of a unique serial killer because of his mental problems.
Because, like I said, clearly he had some drastic...
I don't hold him 100% responsible because he had organic problems with his fucking brain.
Which were apparent from a very early age. So...
Schizophrenia.
Like I said, is he completely responsible? No.
No.
Does that excuse it?
No.
It also doesn't excuse it.
And actually, just because you have it, I I'm kind of the fucking opinion that a mad dog kind of has to be put down. Life imprisonment or in a mental institution actually might be inhumane for a crazy motherfucker like him, and execution might actually be more humane. You can't let him go.
Well, obviously.
He's too dangerous.
Yeah.
So maybe ending his existence in a humane fashion might be better.
Well, and in a
because
way...
they just suffer if they stay alive.
Yeah.
He'd be up in there, oh, my fucking organs are disintegrating, you know. Oh,
that's
my
what I
thing's
mean. It's
upside
like
down.
and that's like a really it's like a really like horrible but also kind of interesting conundrum to me. It's like, what is the point where you are so mentally ill that it's almost like making you suffer more, like, to stay alive?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if he was imprisoned, he couldn't get blood, he couldn't
Right.
get like what he thought he needed.
Right.
Then he was probably like freaking out and like
Yeah.
suffering the whole time because he
I'm
really did believe.
disintegrating,
Right.
yeah.
So it's like,
It'd almost be better to just gas him.
well, in a way, maybe he thought that too because he took himself out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he's probably escaping his own mental anguish.
that's what I'm saying.
Of not
It's
being
like,
able to satisfy
and like I
the
said, I
bloodlust.
get that because
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
stories of like people that have schizophrenia and stuff like that, and it sounds fucking terrifying, and I never fucking want that. So it's like I could understand if somebody had that, and they just couldn't live a normal life. They couldn't they really did think that was happening. It's like in a moment of clarity, they would probably think, you know what? It's just like I gotta check out.
Yeah, well, normally with a serial killer, the motive is actually just rape.
Well, yeah.
And that's not the case with Chase. Chase, the fucking motive is to stay alive because he thinks he's disintegrating.
Yeah. And it's like that,
So
like I
it's
said,
not
that
the
doesn't
same-
excuse that
No.
he killed like a fucking baby and he killed
No.
a pregnant woman and he
It's
killed
just
like all
that
these
the
people.
way you
but
deal with, it's just the way you look at a motherfucker, the way you deal with a motherfucker is different when that's the situation.
Yeah,
if you ask
because
me,
he didn't know
euthanasia actually would have been the
I
fucking...
think I kind of agree.
Because he had a bunch of fucking organic problems in his brain.
And I don't think that they could have helped him.
No.
I don't think. Because, and we've talked about this before, I think most people can be helped, but there are a small percentage that I don't think can be. I think their problems are just too... it's just too deep set.
Yeah.
You just can't do anything about it.
Some
And
people
it's
some people were not born right.
Right.
They're not really meant
It's
to live.
rare, but I
Yeah.
think it does happen. Because, like I
Yeah.
said, and I've mentioned this before, I think
Human beings are not all the same.
I think that there does have to be, usually there has to be like an interaction between, your genetic component and your upbringing component. And like I said, I think some people that were genetically, have predilection for that. Like if they're raised okay and they turn out okay.
He had a normal upbringing.
He did.
It was all
So
genetic.
I think that probably...
It was all
I
genetic.
don't really think there would be any helping him. And that's, it's sad, but, it's sadder for his victims, honestly, because they didn't do anything to deserve that. They were just hanging out in their house.
It's
And
like
all
a
of sudden-
natural disaster, though.
That it is. It is. It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's just like a fucking sinkhole opening up underneath your house.
We could be sitting up in the fucking house, and all of a sudden, boom, we fall 10 stories down into the fucking...
It's like
into the
that.
guts of the earth because the fucking sinkhole opened up.
Yeah.
And who we're going to sue somebody? We're going to cast blame? Nah, just a natural disaster. Well, there are human natural disasters.
Yeah.
And Chase is kind of one of those.
He is kind of... That's actually a good analogy because I don't think that... He doesn't have the same motivations as other serial killers who... I think they knew what they were doing was wrong, but they just got off on it so much. But he really didn't seem to have that. He really was so delusional that he thought, I have to do this or I'll die. So... Like you said, it's more like I don't really sympathize with him exactly, but I do feel like he was maybe just...
He just had to be euthanized.
Yeah, which, like I said, he did end up doing
Yeah.
that in the end, so I guess he did us all a favor. As sad as that is to say.
Is there anything else we got to talk about?
Nope, that's about
All
it.
right, let's go ahead and wrap
All
it
right,
up.
so that was our show on Vampire Killers, episode 166. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week is our Halloween special.
Yeah, I'm going to dress up for that.
Are you really?
I'm gonna wear
I was
some.
planning to, but we'll see.
I'm going to wear something.
I haven't decided. I have a couple of ideas,
Yeah.
but I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have to go through my closet.
Last time I was singing for that, wasn't I?
Probably.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. We have no
Okay.
idea. We have no plan. But yeah, we'll read all you guys that have sent stories. I'll read all those, and we'll do some other shit on there. We'll have some fun, as we usually do. We'll probably get drunker than usual, so it might be super fun. But does Dennis have anything to add?
Go ahead and wrap it up, Jenny. It's all right.
Okay, well, thank you. I would like to
Wrap.
do that. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed episode 166. Remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe on all your social media. If you'd like to financially support the show, you can go to our Patreon page, or you can go to our blog, 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com. There's a link in the sidebar to a PayPal account if you'd like to give a one-time donation. It'd be much appreciated. And that will do it for this episode. We will see you next time. Bye.